Ben 10. I can evolve infinitely. Chapter 1. In the dense jungle, a teenager lies quietly on his back on the muddy ground, surrounded by silence and eeriness, and no one is inhabited. I don't know how long it took. The boy's eyelids moved slightly, and he slowly opened his eyes. What came into view were dim stars and a bright moon, and he covered his head and stood up, only feeling a headache. Sweeping around, there was darkness, tall trees flailing their claws, like demons from hell, waiting for the living to approach, and then delivering a fatal blow. Zhang Chen scratched his head, feeling very surprised. He was obviously watching Ben 10 inches at home, looking back on his childhood memories, and suddenly his eyes were dark, and he didn't know anything. When I woke up again, I saw what I saw. Wait, he shouldn't have crossed over. This kind of bloody thing actually happened to him. You know, the villains of this world are not easy to mess with. What mohas, Kevin, Dr. Dongwu, corpses, 6 or 6 monsters, werewolves, mummies, ghosts. Wait, one is more perverted than the other. If it weren't for Tian Xiaoban's Omnitrix, plus the protagonist's aura, he would have died in their hands a long time ago. Just when Zhang Chen was distressed, there was a huge sound of breaking the air in the sky. Call, a huge fireball, carrying terrifying kinetic energy and temperature, swooped down at an extremely fast speed as if divine punishment had descended. The direction is exactly where Zhang Chen is. Zhang Chen was shocked. If this was hit head-on, I am afraid that there would not even be slag left. He hurriedly spread his legs and ran in the opposite direction where the fireball fell, without turning his head. Boom! Just 2 steps after running, this fiery fireball crashed to the ground, erupted with a thunderous noise, plowed deep ravines along the way, and finally stopped not far away. Zhang Chen turned his head and saw clearly inside. It was a metal ball, constantly emitting white smoke, and the scorching temperature made the surrounding earth churn. Could it be Omnitrix? The scene in front of me is the same as the original Nakata elementary class getting a small broken watch. Thinking of this, Zhang Chen no longer hesitated, and immediately ran to the edge of the ravine, jumped down and rushed to the metal ball. Although the soles of the feet can feel the scorching temperature, they are still within the acceptable range, so that they will not be unable to walk. Omnitrix, muttered Zhang Chen as he walked towards the metal ball. When he watched Ben 10 as a child, he fantasized countless times that he could get the Omnitrix, and then beat monsters, save humanity, and become the hero of the spotlight. And now, that dream is about to come true. Click. As soon as it approached the metal orb, it automatically opened, and a faint green light emanated from it, reflecting on Zhang Chen's face. Zhang Chen's eyes were dyed with a layer of green, and he stretched out his left hand and slowly extended it to the inside of the ball. Suddenly, the Omnitrix inside seemed to come to life, automatically opened, and adhered directly to Zhang Chen's wrist. A cold touch came, Zhang Chen's body froze, and he looked at the Omnitrix on his hand, and his breath became a little hot. It's really Omnitrix. He looked at the little broken watch with joy, and his heart was beating wildly. The peculiar texture design emits a dark green glow in the middle, and there is a button next to it, and as soon as you press it, the screen will pop up and you can choose to transform into a hero by turning it. The most powerful alien weapon in the universe, now recognize him as master. Ding, alien hacker system begins to bind. 1%, 99%. Binding successful. In Zhang Chen's mind, a series of cold prompts sounded. This one, it won't be the system. He usually reads books on ketchup, and of course knows what a system is. That is the golden finger that countless crossing male protagonists must have. Now he not only has the Omnitrix, but also the system, which is simply killing 2 birds with 1 stone. With these 2 things, even if you encounter mohas, you don't have to be afraid. Thinking of this, he pressed the button of the Omnitrix, and suddenly emitted a strange sound effect, and a switching screen popped up. An alien pattern appeared on it, and Zhang Chen could see at a glance that it was a flame man. In the original work, this is Tian Xiaoban's first alien hero to transform. Because he is unskilled, he almost burned the entire forest, almost causing a big mistake. As Zhang Chen switched, the books of other alien heroes appeared on the screen one after another. They are Super Beast, Diamond God of War, Big Steel Fang, Flash Star, Four-Hand Overlord, Shapeshifter, Little Shocker, Gliding Kong, and Ghost. Only 10. Zhang Chen had some pity. The adult Tian Xiaoban, but gathered millions of alien heroes, plus random switching, can be said to have won many battles. But now, he only has 10. There are no divine tyrannosaurs, supergiants, and no ex-supermen. But he has a system, and none of this should be a problem. Thinking of this, Zhang Chen asked with a mood of anticipation, "System, what function do you have?" Ding, complete the system promulgation task to get rare rewards. Rare rewards. Zhang Chen was a little puzzled and asked, like what? Quote, complete the system task, you can unlock the genes of other alien heroes, as well as various enhancement effects. After listening to the system's prompts, Zhang Chen's eyes lit up. In this way, isn't he an alien hero who can gain more power? Thinking of this, he couldn't help but look forward to the moment when he obtained the Supergiant Guide. But what is the enhancement effect? Back to the host, the enhancement effect can improve the combat effectiveness of the alien hero, such as improving strength, defense, etc., or increase the transformation time. Even unlimited. In the Dark Universe, there is a huge space battleship suspended. An alien with tentacles on the side of his mouth, resembling an octopus, was soaked in a healing liquid, his flesh and blood were blurry, and only half of his body remained. What about Omnitrix, is there any news about it? Mohez slowly spoke, his voice very strong. For now, not yet, no trace of it can be found on enemy ships. The robot was trembling and seemed very afraid. Justin was furious, his forehead covered with bruises, and he roared lowly, I was blown up like this in order to track down the whereabouts of the Omnitrix, and you gave me this answer. Quote, he desperately needs Omnitrix to build an alien army that takes his orders and then assists him in ruling the universe. The robot's eyes flickered, and he bent over and lowered his head. We guess that the Omnitrix was teleported to Earth and has now sent someone to search for it. Hurry up, make sure to take it back. Mojus's eyes lit up with longing. After calming the joy in his heart a little, Zhang Chen turned his head and looked at the empty metal ball. He knew that this point in time was when Mohez was chasing Omnitrix, and he would send robots to search for traces later. In the original work, Tian Xiaoban transformed into an alien hero for the first time, and he was not familiar with the characteristics and powers of various aliens, which made it difficult to deal with tall robots. But Zhang Chen, but a proper Ben 10 fan, the 10 original heroes in the watch, he knows it well. He knows the abilities of various alien heroes very well. Of course, he still needs to practice it to master the power of Omnitrix. Just as Zhang Chen was thinking, a familiar voice came from the side. Wow, that's really cool, where did you buy this watch? Tian Xiaoban looked excited and walked towards Zhang Chen. Small class, just like in the anime, Tian Xiaoban looks only about 10 years old, with brown hair and a strong curiosity about new things. You know my name. Tian Xiaoban opened his mouth wide. Zhang Chen was just about to say something, when suddenly there were several sounds of breaking the void in the sky. On the pitch-black sky dome, 5 or 6 small robots appeared, in the shape of spiders, with red substances wrapped around their heads, constantly flashing scarlet light. Discover the target. Locked. The spider robot's icy voice sounded, without the slightest emotion. Without exception, they all locked the Omnitrix in Zhang Chen's hand, and drove the engine, swooping at great speed. Seeing this scene, Tian Xiaoban was so frightened that his legs trembled. Strange. Monsters. He shouted and fell to the cold ground. As an ordinary student, how could he have ever seen such a thing? And these robots in front of him were like legendary alien spaceships, full of unknowns and fears, God knows what they would do. Zhang Chen, on the other hand, did not panic at all. He had already expected that Mohez would send someone over and rob the Omnitrix. It's just that unlike the original, there are not as many robots as now, when only 1 giant robot and 2 spider robots were dispatched. It seems that my appearance has disrupted some plots. Zhang Chen said slowly. Let's run. They're coming. Tian Xiaoban looked alarmed and shouted towards Zhang Chen. Discover the target, take back the Omnitrix. All the spider-type robots, suspended above Zhang Chen, poked out their dark muzzles and aimed at the 2 people below. It's just coming. Zhang Chen pressed the Omnitrix, quickly switched the heroes, and then shot down, bursting out with a ghostly green light. Sting. Several red lasers, like deadly vipers, rolled up with terrifying power, pierced through space, and struck straight towards Zhang Chen. Thundered. One after another, I saw that the place where Zhang Chen originally stood was engulfed by a violent red light, a large amount of dirt splashed everywhere, and the ground trembled violently. Target cleared. The cold mechanical sound sounded. Rumble. Suddenly, a thick pillar of fire rushed out from the furious red light, extremely violent, far from the encirclement of spider robots, and landed next to a large tree. The brilliant fire gradually faded, revealing the two figures inside. One is a thin figure, the other filled with flames, like a fire demon from hell. He has the height of an ordinary person, his skin is red like lava, full of cracks, and his hair is golden flames, soaring and burning, constantly beating. Ah! Tian Xiaoban was so frightened that he retreated again and again. You! What a monster you are! Quote. This monster full of flames is even more terrifying than those robots. Small class, it's me. Zhang Chen waved his hand. Are you the teenager with the cool watch? Tian Xiaoban's eyes widened. Good. The flame man nodded. Also, my name is Zhang Chen. Oye, it's really cool. Tian Xiaoban jumped up excitedly and leaned in front of the flame man. How did you become here? Can you teach me? And looking at your appearance, your whole body is full of flames, just call you a flame man. Just as the flame man was about to respond, several piercing sounds came from not far away. It's really haunting, so let's solve you first. The flame man raised his palm and condensed a blazing flame. He turned his head and said to the small class, those robots are here again, protect yourself. When Tian Xiaoban heard this, his face suddenly turned pale, and he quickly ran behind a big tree and hid. Soon, those spider robots appeared in view again. Discover the target. Discover the target. All spider robots, constantly flashing red at the top, lock onto the Omnidirex on the flame man's chest. Sting. Countless red lasers, rolling with terrifying temperatures, struck the flame man with great momentum, trying to kill it. Insect tricks. The flame man snorted coldly, jumped continuously, dodged these attacks, and then raised his hands and shot out several hot fireballs. Bang bang. One after another explosions sounded, and these spider robots were all hit by fireballs, exploded into fragments in the sky, spilled out, and fell to the ground, constantly emitting thick black smoke. Thumbs up. Tian Xiaoban ran over from behind the big tree and looked at the flame man excitedly. It's really powerful, those monsters are not your opponents at all. Quote. Really? The flame man looked at his palm. When he sent out the fireball just now, it felt very natural, as if this was an innate skill, just like eating and drinking. Of course, it required a certain amount of energy. DDDD. At this time, the Omnidirex on the flame man's chest flickered, and then burst out a burst of red light. Zhang Chen. Tian Xiaoban looked at the handsome young man in front of him and asked stunnedly. Zhang Chen looked at himself and found that he had changed back to his original form. It seems that the time has come. Today, the transformation time of Omnidirex is limited, and it is impossible to seamlessly switch heroes an unlimited duration like the adult Tian elementary class. However, listening to the system's prompts seems to extend the transformation time. After solving the spider robot, Tian Xiaoban took Zhang Chen and rushed to the direction of the old broken car. Zhang Chen did not refuse. Now Mohez is looking around for Omnidirex. I am afraid that there are other robots nearby, and the small broken watch is still cooling. He has to be careful. After about 10 minutes, the two finally arrived at the camp. An old man wearing a red flower shirt and gray hair is busy in an old broken car. Although he is in his twilight years, his body is still strong, and he has no old age. Around the campfire, an orange-haired girl with blue eyes held her chin, her eyes always resting on her laptop, and she flipped the mouse wheel, as if she was checking something. Xiao Wei, Grandpa. Tian Xiaoban trotted over, followed by Zhang Chen. Dumb. Xiao Wei muttered and did not turn her head. It's a small class, where did you fool around just now? Did you break into trouble? Tian Mark turned his back to the two, seemed to be fiddling with something, and said with a smile, come on, Grandpa has prepared some protein for you, come and taste it. Xiaoban waved his hand again and again in fright. Grandpa, I still have cornflakes in my bag, you take them to Xiao Wei to eat. Xiao Wei, who was originally looking at the computer, was immediately unhappy. I look at your little head melon, it's really hot and dizzy. She turned her head angrily, furious. But the next second, she was stunned. When did her stupid cousin's side have another charming handsome man? The sword-eyed starry eyes, the rich god handsome, the angular face, the delicate facial features, like a knife and an axe carved, are fascinating. The figure is slender, but it is capable and powerful, not the feeling of sickness. Moreover, his body has a mature and stable atmosphere, which is not at all comparable to his peers in the small class. Zhang Chen waved his hand politely and smiled slightly. So handsome. Xiao Wei's cheeks were hot, and she quickly turned red. Idiot, Xiao Ban said speechlessly. At this moment, Grandpa came out of the old broken car, holding a large bowl of white bugs in his hand, densely packed and constantly twisting. Come on. Good raw and fresh rice worms, not enough for smoked lamb tongue in the car, hee hee. Enough tubes. Quote. Looking at the terrifying white worm in the bowl, the twisting dance, Xiao Ban and Xiao Wei only felt that their scalps were numb for a while, and they were so frightened that they retreated one after another, and they hid behind Zhang Chen. Xiao Wei hid behind Zhang Chen, poked his head out, and said in fear, Grandpa, I still have chocolate bars in my car, so let's not eat them. Quote. It's scary to let her eat these bugs, it's better to go straight back to school. Grandpa, I don't eat either. Tian Xiaoban quickly shook his head. Bang! With a crisp sound, the iron bowl full of bugs in Tian Ma's hand fell to the ground without warning, and those bugs immediately scrambled and fled in all directions. Tian Mark did not answer the two brothers and sisters, but stared at Zhang Chen closely, with shock in his eyes and a faint sadness. This old man, who had always been resolute, turned red and died with a layer of mist. Grandpa, Tian Xiaoban was a little puzzled. You know, Grandpa has always liked to eat these rice insects, and they are very rare. At this time those insects are running out. Grandpa actually did not catch them back, let them escape. Zhang Chen, is that you? Mark said with a tremor in his heart. Gray-haired, he took an old step and stretched out his slightly wrinkled palm, wanting to touch Zhang Chen's face. He was afraid that this was his dream again. How many times, every time he wanted to touch Zhang Chen, the other party was like a phantom, dissipating in the dream. Zhang Chen was stunned, and couldn't help covering his head. The pain hit, and the memories were like a raging tide, one after another. It turns out that in this world, he is Tian Mark's grandson, that is, Xiao Ban and Xiao Wei's cousin, 9 years ago in an accident, and his parents disappeared in the endless sea, and there is no news. His father is from Daxia and his mother is Western, so Zhang Chen is of mixed race, but his appearance looks more inclined to the east, handsome, calm and restrained. Kid, are you all right? Mark hurriedly stepped forward and held Zhang Chen's body. When he touched Zhang Chen's warm arm, his eyes were full of joy and said, This time it was not an illusion. Zhang Chen, you are finally back. After slowing down, Zhang Chen shook his head with a smile. Grandpa, I'm fine. Quote. Old Tian Mark burst into tears. This alien villain is a waterman that everyone talks about, and he also has such a tender side. Child, I have been looking for you all these years, but there is no news. Where have you been, and your parents? Faced with a series of questions, Zhang Chen was difficult to answer, just shook his head. I don't know, I woke up and found myself in the woods. Grandpa was well informed and guessed. It should be that time and space have been chaotic. Since you can come back, I believe that one day, your parents will also come back. Zhang Chen nodded. You two little ones, don't you come over soon and say hello to your cousin? Tian Mark smiled and beckoned to the surprised two behind. Cousin, Xiao Ban and Xiao Wei opened their mouths wide. Grandpa nodded. That's right, Zhang Chen is your cousin, but you were still young and didn't understand things at that time. In fact, later, Tian Mark also thought about telling Xiao Ban and Xiao Wei that such a cousin existed, but in the end he cancelled the idea, because that would only increase sadness. It turns out that Zhang Chen is my cousin, it's really cool. Recalling the scene of the flame man's might, Xiao Ban became excited in his heart. With such an older brother, see who dares to bully him in the future. Table. Good cousin, Xiao Wei said hesitantly. She felt a little sorry in her heart. Such a good-looking big handsome man, it was actually his cousin, what a pity. At this time, Grandpa took Zhang Chen's shoulders and walked back into the old broken car. Zhang Chena, after so many years, your appearance has not changed at all, it's really amazing. Grandpa opened the refrigerator, took out a bowl of mutton tongue, put it in front of Zhang Chen's table, and said with a smile, I believe that one day, Tian Shui will also return to me. Zhang Chen nodded slightly and didn't say anything more. Tian Shui, Zhang Chen's mother in this world, and Tian Mark's daughter, disappeared in the marine accident with her father Zhang Hao, and so far, there has been no news. Originally, Zhang Chen was also a victim of the incident, but for unknown reasons, he crossed into the forest a few years later and changed his soul. It just so happened that the owners of the two souls were named Zhang Chen, but the two were from different worlds. Dumb, Don't grab my chocolate bar. Xiao Wei's voice came from outside the car. What I get is mine. The small class retorted. The two siblings quarreled outside the car, very lively, as if they were a pair of natural little wrongdoers. Grandpa shook his head with a wry smile, sat opposite Zhang Chen, and pointed to the smoked lamb tongue on the table. Eat it quickly, it won't taste good when it gets cold. Looking at the dark strip, Zhang Chen's back felt cold, and he shook his head resistantly. Grandpa, can I not eat it? Quote. Although he watches some variety shows, eats very fragrantly, what strange wild animals, insects, crunchy, but let him try it himself, it is inevitable that there will be some diaphragm. Try it, you'll love it. Grandpa said with a smile. Okay then. Zhang Chen picked up a lamb tongue and chewed it tentatively, but found that the taste was not bad, not as disgusting as expected. Look, Grandpa didn't lie to you, did he? Mark smiled gratifyingly, his eyes full of doting. Just as Zhang Chen wanted to respond, the radio next to him suddenly rang. Help, who will save us? I said you wouldn't believe it, a huge robot has appeared here, and it's about to destroy this place. Nourishment. With a burst of electricity, the sound stopped abruptly, as if it was disturbed by some kind. Robots. Grandpa frowned. He was happy for Zhang Chen's arrival, but he didn't expect this kind of thing to happen. At this time, Tian Xiaoban outside ran in. Grandpa, there is a big smoke in the woods over there, and there is an explosion, let's go over and take a look. Okay, you guys get in the car. Grandpa no longer hesitated and walked quickly to the driver's seat. Iron-toothed people are really annoying, please ask the stupid cousin, what can you do to save people? Xiao Wei crossed his hands at his waist. Tian Xiaoban smiled mysteriously, grabbed Zhang Chen's shoulders, and said proudly, with my cousin here, are you afraid that there is something you can't do? Quote. Boom. A roar sounded, and the old broken car was like a sharp arrow off the string, speeding towards the accident site at an amazing speed. In the middle of the night, a remote suburb surrounded by a large number of trees, lush and prosperous, with many tents stationed in between, and many people camping here. Originally, it was quiet and peaceful, but the appearance of an uninvited guest broke the warm environment and tore it into the darkness. A terrifying giant robot, huge in size, 6 or 7 stories tall, with 4 spider-like mechanical legs, will produce violent tremors every time it pierces the earth. Towering into the clouds, it looks down at the fleeing people with scarlet eyes, searching for traces of the Omnidirex, and from time to time shoots lasers to destroy everything that stands in its way. At this point, a ranger was trapped in the car, constantly struggling to escape. But the door was so badly deformed that it could not be opened at all. Click. The giant robot slowly advanced, its eyes condensed with blood-red light, aimed at the car, and wanted to destroy it. It's over. The ranger's eyes were filled with despair. Sting. A dazzling scarlet laser burst out from the robot's eyes, carrying a terrifying temperature, and fiercely attacked the car. In the ranger's eyes, the red light continued to amplify, and he had even seen the scene of his own shattered bones. In the nick of time, a green figure blocked the front of the car. The whole body is light green, crystal clear, like a precious crystal carved. The back is inlaid with 4 sharp spikes, wearing a black and white uniform, with the Omnidirex logo on the left chest. He snorted coldly, raised his right hand, and condensed a green wall in front of him, like a copper wall and an iron wall. Rumble. A deafening sound sounded, and the red laser of the giant robot bombarded the green wall fiercely, but it could not be shaken by half a point. The giant robot increases its power and desperately attacks the wall to smash it to pieces. But the furious laser was refracted back by the green crystal, splashing in all directions, destroying many trees and tents. Seeing that the enemy's attack was blocked, the diamond god of war turned around, opened his yellow eyes, easily tore open the deformed car door, and rescued the ranger. Thanks. Thank you. The ranger thanked him repeatedly. Although he was a little afraid, he could feel that the green stone man in front of him should have no malice, otherwise he would not save himself. It's dangerous here, go and evacuate the crowd and leave with them. After that, the diamond god of war rushed to the giant robot to completely eradicate it. Not far away, Tian Mark saw this scene, and his eyes were full of horror. Isn't this an alien? Why did Zhang Chen become like this? As if sensing his grandfather's gaze, Tian Xiaoban said with a smile, Cousin, he has a watch that can transform into a cool alien. Originally, I thought he could only become a flame man, but I didn't expect to become this, it's really amazing. Watch. Grandpa thoughtfully, his gaze becoming solemn. At first, he was only happy and did not notice Zhang Chen's watch. If it was really it would not be a good thing. My cousin is so handsome. Xiao Wei shouted excitedly, her eyes full of adoration. Especially the scene where the Diamond War god saved people just now. It was simply a girl harvester, if only it was himself who was saved. Xiao Wei, that's your cousin. Grandpa reminded. Hearing this, Xiao Wei suddenly looked like a deflated leather ball, and sighed, I know Grandpa. At this time, the Diamond War god had already charged in front of the robot. Found the target, locked. The gaze of the giant robot locked onto the Omnidirex on the chest of the Diamond God of War. At the same time, his perspective is shared on the spaceship, where he is watched by Mohez. Petroshapan. Mohez soaked in the healing liquid and said hoarsely, it seems that Omnidirex has already recognized the Lord, and it must be taken back. Quote. Sting. The giant robot raised its claws, and the circular muzzle in the middle burst out a strong red laser, like a roaring dragon, and slammed into the Diamond God of War below. Insect tricks. The Diamond God of War turned around and easily dodged the blow. Then he raised his arm, turned into a dense spike, flashed green cold, and aimed at the giant robot. The sharp crystal spike, like a machine gun, slashed at the robot. With just one face, the body of the giant robot was covered with spikes, as if it had turned into a hedgehog, which was very embarrassing. Its eyes became furious, its powerful legs jumped up, suspended high in midair, and then spun rapidly, turning into a deadly steel giant ship, about to strangle the Diamond God of War here. Get out of the way. Grandpa shouted. The crowd next to them was also very nervous, and their throats were mentioned in their hearts. Get out of the way, hero. Such a big one, smashing it down will die. Stone man, run away, don't go head to head with him. Don't be a handsome alien, I'll still want you to sign later. A teenage girl cried. But Zhang Chen was unmoved, still standing in place, indifferently looking at the robot above, getting closer and closer. Bang! With a thunderous bang, the huge body of the giant robot, swept up with a violent wind, smashed down fiercely, instantly drowning the figure of the Diamond God of War, sand and stones flying, and smoke and dust filled the air. Zhang Chen, Mark Tian shouted, very anxious in his heart. Xiao Ban and Xiao Wei were equally worried, their eyes fixed on the direction of the robot. Cousin, you must not be fine. The small class prayed silently. As for the others, they had already been frightened by this scene and fled around, screaming constantly, thinking that the green alien had been killed, and without its help, the giant robot would kill again. But the next moment, the abnormality suddenly changed. I saw that where the giant robot was standing, a crystal mountain rose up from the ground, and the sharp edge directly pierced it and fiercely pushed it into the air, and the robot struggled, but could not escape in any way. Pierced by the green crystal through the torso, the giant robot began to trigger an electric current, and a large number of parts and lines inside were destroyed, affecting its actions. But as long as the head is not damaged, it will not die. Soon, a green figure jumped out from the ground, like a god of war standing above the heavens and the earth, standing in front of the crystal peak. It's the Diamond God of War, cousin, he's fine. The little class jumped happily. Grandpa couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief, and his hanging heart was also relaxed. He didn't want to lose Zhang Chen again. The people who had originally fled, seeing this spectacular scene, their hearts were excited, and hope was once again ignited in their eyes. Come on, Diamond Brother, ruthlessly Habian, that hateful monster. Oh my god, it must hurt to be pierced through the body. Ha ha ha, good fight. Stone Man, turn back, I invite you to drink. Kill that robot. Ding, trigger alien hacking mission. Kill the giant robot in front of you. Get random enhancement effect. A series of mechanical tones sounded from the mind of the Diamond God of War. The Diamond God of War snorted coldly, raised his arm, turned into a sharp crystal spike, and aimed at the robot's head. In that case, let's send you to the West Heaven. Swish, countless sharp spikes, flashing light green cold, shot out from the arm of the Diamond God of War, tearing through the darkness, and hit the robot's head like a violent wind. With a metallic clang, I saw that the head of the giant robot was pierced into a hornet's nest by countless green thorns, and then exploded violently, erupting with a deafening loud noise. Bang! The next moment, the entire body of the giant robot was torn apart, exploded on the green mountains, emitted billowing smoke, and fell into the wreckage of the ground. Nope. On the spaceship, the projection screen of Mohez is interrupted and turns into a snowflake. Abominable earthlings. Mohez was angry, and the tentacles on his mouth kept twitching. Omnidirex, I must take you back. This powerful alien weapon can only belong to me, Mohez. Quote. On the other side, after solving the giant robot, a prompt sounded in the mind of the Diamond God of War. Ding. Successfully killed the giant robot. Gain strengthening effect. Increase the hardness of the crystal by 10%, and improve the control ability, which can turn the crystal into various weapons. As soon as the words fell, the tall body of the Diamond God of War burst out with brilliant white light, and the momentum of the body increased in vain, and the crystal body became tighter and stronger. At this time, Zhang Chen only felt that his control over the crystal had increased a lot, and at first it took a short time to condense when releasing the spurt, but now it can be instantaneous. He swept it in the air, summoned a green longsword, flashed with a sharp cold light, and shook it again, turning into a domineering Feng Tian painting halberd, exuding the aura of destroying the heavens and the earth. At this moment, many onlookers rushed forward like a tide. Oh my God, Diamond Head brother, you are so powerful, that giant robot is not your opponent at all. You are so good, brother Diamond, go live with me tonight, my house is very big, a young and beautiful blonde girl said delicately. No, you should go to my house. The Chinese girl retorted. Don't grab it with Lao Su, I'm going to get drunk with Brother Diamond tonight. Such a powerful alien, can I be my bodyguard, with a monthly salary of 1000 W? The balding middle-aged rich man said sincerely. In just a few minutes, the Diamond God of War has been surrounded by water, and there are even many Western beauties with hot bodies, desperately rubbing towards his body, trying to make friends with each other. As everyone knows, Zhang Chen is completely a stone man in this state, and he didn't react at all. Many of them also asked him for autographs, and after getting it, they ran back ecstatically, as if they were carrying a treasure. This kid is really popular. Grandpa smiled gratifyingly and stood not far away to watch. Xiao Ban grinned and said, my cousin is really cool, when the summer vacation is over, I must let him avenge me and let those bullies in school know how powerful it is. Don't touch my cousin. Xiao Wei squeezed into the crowd, wanting to pull away those enthusiastic beauties, but the other party was too numerous and was drowned in the crowd. Dee. At this moment, the Omnidirex on the left chest of the Diamond God of War flashed red. Transformation time is almost over. Thinking of this, Zhang Chen immediately jumped and got rid of the crowd. Seeing this, those people were about to catch up, and the Diamond War God took a green wall to resist it, and then his figure jumped continuously and disappeared into the dark jungle. In the darkness, a red light burst out, and then flashed away. Alas, I almost lost myself just now. Zhang Chen shook his head and sighed. The hot beauties still lingered in Zhang Chen's mind, and it was difficult to wave away in a short time. At this time, the screen of Omnidirex has turned red and is charging, and it will not change in a short time. Not long after, Zhang Chen and Tian Xiaoban converged, and the four returned to the old broken car and began a new journey. Zhang Chen, your performance today is really eye-catching, that robot is not easy to deal with, it has been solved by you three or two. Grandpa drove the old broken car while praised. Little meaning. Zhang Chen waved his hand and said with a smile. Cousin, are you injured today? Xiao Wei asked worriedly. Although the Diamond God of War defeated the robot, the latter's volley hit Zhang Chen's body firmly, and it hurt to look at, let alone be immersed. It's okay, the Diamond God of War can regenerate and reorganize the body, this little injury is nothing, it can be recovered in the blink of an eye. Zhang Chen responded. At this time, the small class came over. Cousin, I didn't expect you to be able to turn into other aliens, can you conjure more? It should work, you'll have to try it to find out. Zhang Chen pretended to be thinking. Oye is really cool, can my cousin borrow me to wear it? I also want to become an alien, and then Habian monster, save the world from fire and water. Xiao Ban looked at Zhang Chen excitedly. Yes, but I can't take off my watch. Zhang Chen said helplessly. This is the truth, once the Omnidirex identifies the owner, it is difficult to pull it off, unless it uses alien high technology. Xiao Ban did not believe in evil at first, and after carefully fiddling a few times, he reluctantly gave up. Xiao Ban, don't trick or treat, you can't take it off. Grandpa said with a smile. Xiao Wei was stunned and said suspiciously, Grandpa, do you know what this watch is? Ah, I don't know, I mean that Zhang Chen can't take it off himself, let alone a small class, he. Grandpa laughed dryly twice. Zhang Chen smiled and said nothing. He naturally knew the identity of his grandfather. By the way, Zhang Chen, where did you get this watch? Grandpa asked curiously. In the forest where I was camping, an iron ball fell from the sky, and there was a small broken watch hidden inside, and I happened to be nearby. Immediately, Zhang Chen said what he encountered, of course, omitting the existence of the system. After listening to Zhang Chen's description, Grandpa nodded solemnly, not knowing what he was thinking. The next day, in the city center, a residential area is burning with flames. Screams and cries for help are constantly heard around, and a large number of people are fleeing in all directions, away from the terrible sea of fire, and chaotic for a while. A mother and son, trapped in a residential building by the blazing fire, were very scared and helpless. Mom, are we going to die here? The child leaned into his mother's arms, his body trembling. The woman hugged her child tightly. No, baby, if we hold on a little longer, someone will definitely come to rescue us. The fire spread rapidly, already burning to the feet of the two people. The entire room was engulfed in flames, the heat wave was billowing and even the air began to distort. The woman panicked and hurriedly held her child above her head to prevent the flames of terror from burning him. But her feet, already clinging to the flames, mercilessly devoured her weak body. But no matter how the flames raged, the woman still gritted her teeth, held the child high in her hands, away from the erosion of the flames, and bore the pain of the drill alone. Mom, the little boy cried. Mom, it's okay, the woman gritted her teeth, barely squeezing out a smile. Sting, a blue figure, flying on the wall, rushed into the room through the window, grabbed the two people in the house, and attacked the nearby water park at an amazing speed. This person is the Flash Star. Resembling a velociraptor with a black and blue body, it wears a black mask with a blue X to block the air flow generated by high-speed sprinting. The soles of the feet are two pulleys, a slender tail, extremely fast-moving, 300 miles per hour, commonly known as Scud, is the fastest-moving alien hero in the Omnidirects. In just a few breaths, Flash Star rushed into the pool with mother and son, speeding on the water, and the splashing waves extinguished the flames on their bodies. The whole process took no more than 5 seconds. Immediately afterwards, the Flash Star turned into a blue afterimage, rushed to a nearby hospital, and grabbed a doctor casually. You, hurry up and save people. Flash Star withdraws the mask. The doctor was so frightened that he was stunned in place and looked at each other in horror. What kind of monster is this? People are not ghosts or ghosts, they look a bit like velociraptors, but they are more advanced, not like species on Earth. But soon, he saw the injured mother and son again. Although the doctor was frightened by the strange man in front of him, it was important to save people. Thinking of this, the doctor quickly stumbled to get up and organized medical staff to treat. After some treatment, the two were out of danger. Just as the doctor turned his head and wanted to thank the strange man, he did not expect that the other party had already disappeared without a trace, as if it had never existed. At this time, the Flash Star galloped on the road, passing countless vehicles, as if in no man's land. His speed is so fast that it is difficult to detect his presence with the naked eye, so it will not affect traffic. This fire is not an accident, but man-made. Several vicious robbers robbed a nearby bank and, in order to attract the attention of the police, set a fire in the residential building, which grew more and more terrifying with time and became uncontrollable. When the fire truck arrives, I am afraid that it has caused irreversible consequences. Fortunately, Zhang Chen arrived in time, turned into a Flash Star, rescued everyone, and sent them to a nearby hospital. Although the flame people were able to control the fire, they could not quickly send these people to the hospital, so the Flash Star was Zhang Chen's best choice. Yikes! A galloping blue figure caught up with the robber's truck in an instant, tore through the wind, smashed the window, and then jumped into the truck. Bang bang! With 3 punches and 2 kicks, Flash Star subdued all the gangsters, then bundled them into a large rice dumpling and threw them in the back seat of the car, leaving only one driver to drive the vehicle to safety. Great! Spare your life, please let us go. The driver begged for mercy, but quietly extended his arm to the base. Ha! The driver suddenly burst out, his forehead was bruised, and he roared maniacally, "Go and die. You ugly monster!" Immediately, he raised his right hand, pointed the pistol at the Flash Star, and jerked the trigger. Bang! A blinding flash of fire burst out, carrying terrifying kinetic energy, and quickly attacked the opponent, wanting to kill him on the spot. The Flash Star turned into an afterimage, easily dodged the bullet, and flashed behind the driver. The game. It's over. Under the shocked gaze of the driver, the flash star rose and fell with a knife in his hand, slammed it on his neck, and immediately knocked the other party out, just like a small party, slumped on the seat. Soon, the police arrived at the scene and brought all the robbers under control, and what awaited them was a prison sentence. Seeing this scene, the flash star in the corner nodded, and then galloped away in the direction of the old broken car. Back in the old broken car, Grandpa hurriedly inquired about Zhang Chen's situation, and only after learning that everything went smoothly did he breathe a sigh of relief. He is not worried about Zhang Chen's safety. He knows how powerful the aliens are. The most vulnerable are those ordinary people. This fire is too terrifying. Until now it has not been completely extinguished. However, a fire brigade arrived, and the fire was quickly brought under control, and there were no more casualties. In the blink of an eye, it was noon. When the sun was scorching and the heat wave was blowing, Grandpa took Zhang Chen and others to a large supermarket to buy the materials he needed. Okay little guys, Grandpa is going to buy some ingredients, don't give me trouble, especially Xiaoban. After that, Tian Mark took a step and walked in the direction of the pet area. Oh my god, Grandpa is going to buy something strange again. Xiaoban lowered his forehead, then changed his words, grabbed Zhang Chen with interest, and said in a low voice. Cousin, are you go to the snack area with me? Let's go buy Ramo Sumo nachos, and with the ability of your watch, you will definitely be able to steal the rarest Ramo Sumo gold card. Zhang Chen smiled helplessly. This small class is as naughty as the original. According to the original plot, he turned his watch into a small shocker, turned the shelf upside down, and was finally caught. However, Zhang Chen had a better idea. I said stupid cousin, can't you think of something serious? Don't bring my cousin badly. Xiao Wei was not happy. Xiao Wei, can you not be so chicken? Xiaoban is angry. It is a violent sumo gold card. If you miss this village, you don't have this store, it's hard to find. Zhang Chen waved his hand. It's okay, I'll go with Xiaoban and come back soon. Okay then. Xiao Wei was a little sorry. Soon, Xiaoban took Zhang Chen to the shelf selling violent sumo cornflakes. Rows of berserk sumo cornflakes, all tightly packaged, hide different sumo cards, and the berserk gold sumo card is extremely rare. None of them, it can be said that it is a national treasure level existence. In the original work, Xiaoban was coaxed by Kevin, who has special abilities, and the two tried to steal the Ramo gold card, but were chased and killed by the heavily armed army, and even dispatched a helicopter, which can be said to be thrilling, which shows the preciousness of the Ramo Sumo gold card. Cousin, hurry up, I can't wait. Xiaoban said excitedly. The corners of Zhang Chen's mouth rose slightly, raised his watch, popped up the green screen, and then quickly switched heroes and slapped them down. A faint green light flashed, and Xiaoban opened his eyes with difficulty, but he didn't see Zhang Chen's figure. Cousin, where are you? Quote, phew. A cold overcast wind blew through, and Xiaoban couldn't help but shiver, as if the surrounding temperature had dropped to freezing. You must know that it is summer, which can make people feel cold in the spine, which shows its coldness. Xiaoban put his arm around his shoulders, his body trembled slightly, looked left and right, and shouted, Cousin, where are you? Something is wrong around. I'm here. Suddenly, an eerie and hoarse voice came from behind. Xiaoban was stunned at first, and then slowly turned his head. Immediately, his pupils contracted suddenly, and he couldn't help but shout, staggering back. With a final thud, he fell on the floor of the supermarket. What a terrible ghost it was. The body was suspended in midair, the skin was pale, and the body was covered with dark cracks, falling apart. On the gloomy grimace, there was also a crack in the man, and a purple eye slowly moved inside, but his gaze was always on Xiaoban, exuding a strange light. Looking at the shivering class on the ground, the ghost stretched out his finger and put it in front of his non-existent mouth. Shish, don't be afraid, it's me. Who are you? Don't hurt me. Xiaoban covered his eyes, not daring to look directly at the ghost. Do you still want a golden sumo card? Said the ghost faintly. Xiaoban froze and raised his head, his eyes full of surprise. Is your cousin you? Otherwise, who else? The ghost said hoarsely with purple eyes. No way. Zhang Chen didn't want to talk like that, but this was the unique timbre of the ghost shadow, and it couldn't be changed. Not to mention the small class, Zhang Chen, who turned into a ghost, felt a little hairy all over his body, as if there was another self in his body, but he was still sleeping. Due to the limited time to transform, the ghost directly groomed and disappeared into the furious sumo corn chips on the shelves in search of the bag containing the gold card. This is much more efficient than using a small shocker, without tearing open every bag, and without causing unnecessary waste. Ghost, Iktori Starman, a ghostly alien born evil who can be invisible or ghostly, thus achieving the effect of penetrating the wall. Soon, Ghost found the Fury Sumo gold card and handed the bag of cornflakes to Tien Xiaoban, telling him to pay later. Holding the cornflakes in his arms, Xiaoban was like a treasure, with a look of ecstasy on his face, and smiled happily. "Oh, he is really amazing. Thank you, cousin, I love you to death." The ghost laughed twice, but it looked a little terrifying. At this time, Grandpa and Xiao Wei both came over. "Xiaoban, we should go." Grandpa walked over with a smile as he held a large jar of bugs. Xiao Wei, on the other hand, was carrying a bag of clothes. Her little face was flushed, and her face was full of smiles. "Grandpa." Ghost waved his hand. Grandpa's body froze, the corners of his mouth twitched slightly, and he tentatively asked, "Zhang Chen?" "It's me." Ghost nodded. Tien Mark smiled bitterly and shook his head. His grandson's watch is amazing. There are all kinds of aliens transformed into aliens, even this kind of ghost can be conjured. "Grandpa, let's go back quickly." Tien Xiaoban grabbed a bag of cornflakes. His heart was very excited. He couldn't wait to tear open the package and take out the gold card inside. Bang! Suddenly, the wall next to it was blasted abruptly, and a huge black shadow slammed in, like a terrifying demon and suddenly appeared in front of everyone. It was a mountain-like frog. Its eyes were red, its miserable green skin was covered with horrible bumps, and its powerful legs were covered with terrifying muscles, kicking the ground out of a huge deep pit. Let's go to the electronics area." A white-haired man rode on the mutant frog and laughed maniacally. "As long as I find the last thing, I can realize the dormant cell activation plan. Then turn the whole city into prehistoric Washington. No one can stop me." Dr. Dong Wu. Quote. Whoosh. In an instant, the other customers were frightened and fled in all directions, like exploding ant nests, fearful and rushing to the door. When did they ever see such a terrifying giant frog? It simply did not resemble creatures on Earth. Soon, 2 security guards appeared, running over with great momentum, wanting to punish the troublemakers, but they were so frightened by the big frog that their legs were soft and did not dare to move at all. Looking at the huge frog in front of him, Grandpa protected Xiaoban and Xiao Wei back, his brows furrowed. He didn't expect that an ordinary shopping would encounter such a tricky situation. "Grandpa, you go first, I'll deal with him." After speaking, the ghost turned into a phantom and flew straight towards the big frog. Grandpa didn't hesitate to leave with the two, because it wouldn't help to stay here. Who knew that Xiaoban threw off his grandfather's hand and quickly ran towards the direction of the ghost shadow, wanting to see Zhang Chen's demeanor. "Small class," Grandpa shouted, but the head of the small class did not return, not worried about his safety at all, and only wanted to see his cousin Habian weird coffee. "Xiao Wei, you go back to the car first, I'll go and get him back." Mark Tien wiped the sweat from his forehead, then took a deep breath and ran to the mall. "Oh my god, this stupid cousin." Xiao Wei shook his head helplessly and followed behind his grandfather. Boom! The mutant giant frog landed on the ground, stopped in front of the electronic area, rolled away a large number of electronic devices with its huge tongue, and swallowed it into its abdomen. "Ha ha ha, with this, I can resurrect the dead creatures. Let's see who can stop me." Dr. Dong Wu laughed maniacally. Resurrection of dead creatures. Sounds so interesting. Suddenly, a faint voice came from Dr. Dong Wu's ears, which made his back chill. He hurriedly turned his head, only to find it empty. The ghost figure flashed, appeared in front of Dr. Dong Wu, stretched out its miserable white ghost claws, and was about to take away the gene transmission on his head. "As long as this thing is destroyed, the mutated animals will all return to their original form." Whoops! Frightened, the mutant giant frog kicked its legs hard and fled violently, crushing a large shelf and leaving debris all over the ground. "Interesting," the ghost stared at the big frog with purple ghost eyes. "I didn't expect you, big stupid frog." The reaction was quite fast, "but I forgot your stubble. No matter what you are, you can't stop me." Dr. Dong Wu shouted, and then drove the gene transmission on his head and aimed it at the pet area not far away. Sting! Several scarlet rays of light burst out from the transmission and struck the small animals in the iron cage like lightning. A white parrot, After being illuminated by the red glow, its figure soared rapidly, and in an instant it turned into a mutant giant bird, leaping up and rolling up a violent hurricane. With yellow fluff throughout, the little hamster's body size skyrocketed, the originally soft hair turned into sharp steel needles, and Senbai's teeth were extremely sharp, shimmering with a gloomy cold. It let out a mournful roar, opened its blood-red eyes, and stared at the ghost. In addition to these two mutated pets, a small snake has also mutated. The whole body is turquoise, the body of the snake with a thick bucket, covered with hard scales, more than 10 meters long. The mutant giant snake opens a pair of vertical eyes, constantly sticking out its tongue, staring coldly at the ghost. 3 mutant animals, all staring at the ghost. It's fun now. The ghost smiled, his voice hoarse and eerie. Cousin, quickly take these monsters and let them taste your power. Tian Xiaoban appeared behind the ghost figure and cheered loudly. Xiao Wei and Grandpa also ran over, panting. The 3 of them rushed here, and immediately attracted Dong Wu's attention, and the corners of his mouth rose slightly. Go on, slaughter those imps for me. Dong Wu pointed to the 3 people behind the ghost and gave instructions to the mutant animal. Roar, hiss, snap. The 3 mutant animals seemed to go crazy, with scarlet eyes, and rushed over. Although I would love to stay, I'm too busy. Dong Wu laughed and continued, wait and see, soon this city will change back to prehistoric times and become prehistoric Washington. And the truth prize belongs to me after all. After that, Dong Wu manipulated the mutant giant frog, jumped up, and quickly left the place. The ghost wanted to catch up, but there was Xiao Wei's exclamation behind him. Ah, you disgusting monsters, stay away from me. Xiao Wei looked panicked and desperately dodged the giant bird's attack. And Xiaoban and grandfather were also chased by mutant animals, and the situation was not good. Cunning old man, the ghost said faintly, turning around and rushing in Xiao Wei's direction. This Dr. Dong Wu, knowing that ghosts are difficult to entangle, deliberately commanded mutant animals to attack them in small classes, attracting his attention and leaving him no time to catch up. Sting. The mutant giant bird raised its sharp claws and grabbed Xiao Wei fiercely, but unexpectedly hit the air and swept across the iron shelf, splashing sparks all over the place, cutting several deep scratches. Miss Ben is a karate master. Xiao Wei turned around and kicked the mutant giant bird's neck. But this blow only made the huge body of the mutant giant bird shake slightly, and then it screamed and pecked at Xiao Wei sharply. Ah! Xiao Wei's pupils contracted suddenly. At the moment of 1,000 shots, a white shadow flashed, taking Xiao Wei away from the place. Reappeared, already on the edge of the secure shelf. Xiao Wei, you stay here well, don't run around. The words fell, and the figure of the ghost disappeared into nothingness. Tweet. On the floor, the beak of the mutant giant bird was stuck inside, and it was difficult to pull out for a while, and it scratched and scratched in a hurry, leaving terrifying scratches. Do you need help? Suddenly, the ghost shadow appeared behind the mutant giant bird, raised its miserable white ghost claws, and slashed at its neck. The mutant giant bird let out a low cry, gradually collapsed on the ground, and fainted. To be honest, the ghost shadow has not yet evolved, the attack power is really average, the play is weird and unexpected, and it will take a lot of time to completely kill this mutant giant bird, and simply knock it out. As long as the gene transmission on Dr. Dong Wu's head is destroyed, it can be restored to its original state. I'll tie it up, cousin, go help Grandpa and them. Xiao Wei ran over, holding a thick nylon rope in his hand. Okay, the ghost gestured, and immediately disappeared again and fled in the direction of Grandpa and Xiaoban. Hiss. A giant turquoise snake, spitting snake letters, chased madly behind Tian Ma, knocked down many shelves along the way, and constantly heard a deafening loud noise. It's really good to bully when I'm old, right? Grandpa said viciously, but his feet did not stop fleeing. Without tools in hand, he is at most an ordinary person who is stronger, and it is impossible to beat this mutant creature. The mutant giant snake swung its tail, and the terrifying power burst out, instantly knocking a row of shelves away, smashing in front of Tian Ma, blocking his way. It's really difficult. In desperation, Tian Ma chose to take a detour and ran towards a gap. Hiss. The mutant giant snake stared at the seeping vertical eyes, and was about to chase after it. Suddenly, a ghost shadow gradually condensed in front of it. Without waiting for the giant snake to react, the ghost figure poked out its pale claws and grabbed its eyes like lightning, and the attack was fierce. Shish. The mutant giant snake roared madly, struggling to shake the huge snake body, and the sharp pain from its eyes made it almost crazy. The ghost shadow chased after the victory. His figure flashed, appeared above the head of the mutant giant snake, clenched his fists with both hands, and slammed it on the top of its head, instantly stunned it, and weakly pulled it to the ground. There is only one left. As soon as the ghost wanted to enter the stealth, the Omnidirex on his chest suddenly flashed red, and then with a bang, it changed back to its original appearance. Alas, this little broken watch. Zhang Chen shook his head helplessly. Soon, he ran to the position of the mutant hamster, but found that the other party was pressed under the shelf and could not move. How about cousin, am I awesome? Tian Xiaoban stepped on the skateboard and said proudly. Just now, he used the skateboard and terrain to skillfully attract the mutant hamster, and then with its power, knocked down a large number of shelves, and in turn pressed the other party underneath, completely controlling it. Good job, small class. Zhang Chen patted him on the shoulder. To be honest, Zhang Chen admired the small class. Although he was a little naughty, he was still very smart. Not long after, the police arrived here, bundled up the 3 mutant behemoths, and transported them back to the research base. At this time, the entire supermarket was in a mess, full of all kinds of goods, and the originally hard floor was shattered, which was caused by mutated animals. After some rectification, Zhang Chen and the others returned to the old broken car. Oh yes, that's pretty cool. Xiaoban jumped up happily and looked excitedly at the Berserk Sumo gold card in his hand, and couldn't put it down. Fortunately, before dealing with the mutant hamster, he hid the cornflakes in his clothes so that they were not lost in the mall. Dumb cousin, if it weren't for you, Zhang Chen would have caught Dr. Dong Wu. Xiao Wei looked at Xiaoban speechlessly. Grandpa shook his head. The most urgent thing is to find Dr. Dong Wu and stop his conspiracy. But we don't have a clue. How can we find him? The small class was a little confused. Didn't he say that he would build prehistoric Washington, and the promise was already obvious? Zhang Chen said slowly. Xiao Wei and Xiaoban looked at each other and said in unison, Prehistoric Museum. The night was dark and windy. The Prehistoric Museum, which is empty and silent, displays the bones of many ancient creatures, such as mammoths, Tyrannosaurus rex, megalodons, etc., large and mad, reflecting white fluorescence in dim light. An old man wearing a black helmet, standing next to the mammoth, constantly twisting the buttons of the helmet, seemed to be doing some experiment. Bang! With a thunderous bang, the mutant giant frog standing guard at the door was thrown in fiercely, smashed headlong on the wall, fell into pieces, and saw Venus. Dr. Dong Wu was shocked and immediately looked in the direction of the door. Immediately, his eyes widened and he looked at the monster on the opposite side in shock. I saw a strong man with 4 arms, with 4 yellow eyes, red skin, and muscle bumps all over his body, just like the legendary Hong Desolate Beast, exuding an extremely terrifying aura. He is slowly walking towards this side. That mutant giant frog was thrown in by this guy. Dr. Dong Wu felt bad. First he encountered a ghost in the supermarket, and then he met a 4-handed monster here, which was simply fatal. At this moment, Zhang Chen only felt that his body was full of strength, and he transformed into a 4-handed overlord, as if he could kill a cow with one punch. Just flinging the frog, it didn't take much effort. What kind of monster are you? Dare to come and spoil my good deeds? Dong Wu gritted his teeth and glared viciously at the 4-handed overlord. Whoever it is, can't stop his plan. Don't talk nonsense, just start fighting. When the words fell, the 4-handed overlord kicked his legs like cannonballs, rushed towards Dong Wu at great speed, and leaned out his strong arms to snatch the gene transmission on his head. Quick, stop him, Dong Wu shouted and quickly withdrew. Whoops, the mutant giant frog shook its head, forced himself to feel dizzy, smashed the ground, and slammed into the 4-handed overlord. Bang! A huge force came from the side, and the 4-handed overlord was knocked out by the giant frog and smashed heavily on the wall, producing a spiderweb-like crack. The mutant giant frog opened its huge mouth, exposed its sharp teeth, and frantically tore the 4-handed overlord to kill him on the spot. But no matter how hard it tried, it could not tear the skin of the 4-handed overlord, as if biting on tough steel, majestically. The 4-handed overlord sneered, raised his 2 arms to jam the giant frog's mouth, and then flicked the other 2 arms and slammed his elbow on the abdomen of the mutant giant frog. Whoops! The mutant giant frog screamed, flying out upside down like a broken kite, smashing the skeleton of a saber-toothed tiger. It tried to stand up, but was unable to pull down. Compared with the diamond god of war, the strength and speed of the four-handed overlord are stronger, and the fierce blow just now has shattered the bones of the mutant giant frog's body, making it lose its threat. Skimming past the mutant giant frog, the four-handed overlord spread his legs and rushed towards Dr. Dongwu again. Seeing this, Dr. Dongwu did not panic, but laughed and said, "No one can stop me, Dongwu, no one can think about it." He immediately adjusted the GM transmission and aimed it at the mammoth next to him. Sting! A blood-red light shot out from the gene transmission and landed directly on the mammoth's body. In an instant, the originally frozen corpse of the mammoth began to revive at an alarming speed, only to see it open its scarlet eyes and let out a deafening roar, as if swearing its sovereignty. The pair of sharp ivory flickered coldly, and the powerful elephant trunk flickered violently, smashing the floor in front of him, and burst out with a thunderous noise. Let's all look. This is the dormant gene activation plan developed by Dr. Genius, which can resurrect all dead creatures. Dr. Dongwu laughed maniacally. This is the result of his years of research, such an amazing feat, that Truth Award should belong to him. Thinking of this, Dongwu twisted the gene transmission above his head and woke up the ancient great ape, Spinosaurus and Tyrannosaurus Rex one after another. Sorry, four-handed weirdo, I still have business, I won't play with you, I'm going to grab it back. Something that belongs to me. Doctor. Dongbo jumped onto the back of the Tyrannosaurus Rex, then smashed the stone wall and flew away, leaving the Spinosaurus and the ancient giant ape to deal with the four-handed overlord. Rumble. The four-handed overlord threw a punch and slammed into the head of the mammoth giant elephant, with great momentum, instantly knocking it out, staggering back a few steps. Hit so hard, the mammoth was completely enraged, stepped out of its tank-like body, and slammed into the four-handed overlord, shaking the ground continuously. The long pointed snow-white tusks, like deadly swords, stabbed fiercely. If he is hit head-on, the strong four-handed overlord will not feel good. Bulky guy. The four-handed overlord jumped into midair to dodge the blow, and then stepped on the mammoth's back. Roar. The mammoth was in pain, frantically shaking its huge body. The four-handed overlord snorted coldly and jumped down from the mammoth. Roar, roar. At this time, the ancient giant ape and Spinosaurus rushed over, opening their blood-red eyes and staring at the four-handed overlord. The Spinosaurus was huge, 2 stories tall, with sharp teeth and hard back sails, constantly exuding the breath of death. The ancient giant ape had black hair, explosive muscles, a hideous face, a fierce god, beating his chest and making a loud drum-like sound. Come on. The four-handed overlord clenched his fists and was undaunted. Outside the door of the museum, Xiaoban and the others looked at the besieged four-handed overlord worriedly, and their hearts were very anxious. So many monsters, can he fight cousin? The small class stared intently at the battlefield. If only I could do something for my cousin. Xiao Wei clenched his silver teeth, eager to immediately have extraordinary power and smash all those monsters. Grandpa's face was solemn, he stared at the situation inside, and slowly spoke. The power of that watch should be more than that. These mutated earth creatures alone can't take down your cousin. Grandpa, it's strange to hear you say that, and earth creatures, have you seen a lot of aliens? Xiao Wei raised his eyebrows. Grandpa, what country are you from? The small class then mended the knife. I mean, your cousin is so powerful, he will definitely be able to defeat these monsters. Grandpa quickly changed the topic and continued. Okay, don't talk about this, let's take a look at your cousin. Xiao Wei and Xiaoban looked at each other and shrugged helplessly. Bang! The battle was extremely fierce, fists to flesh, 3 mutated behemoths joined forces, constantly bombarding the four-handed overlord in the middle. The momentum was huge, and the mountain collapsed and cracked. The four-handed overlord roared, swung his strong arms, and frantically bombarded the mutant behemoth, slashing out Dao fist shadows, and abruptly knocked them back. He kept panting, his brain racing, thinking about how to solve these 3 big guys. Ding! Trigger alien hacking mission. Kill the ancient giant ape. You can get a random alien gene guide note. Every time you get a new gene, you don't need to wait for the watch to cool, you can directly become a new hero to fight, and you need to recharge later. After listening, the corners of the four-handed overlord mouth rose slightly, and his body was suddenly full of strength and full of energy. Roar! The Spinosaurus opened its blood basin and mouth, full of fangs, and rushed towards the four-handed overlord, trying to tear the other party to pieces. Noisy! The four-handed overlord dodged sideways, and with a heavy punch with his backhand, he bombarded the Spinosaurus in the head. With a bang, the Spinosaurus was smashed dizzy, its huge body staggered back, and the power of the four-handed overlord was too strong, making it almost faint. "It's your turn," the four-handed overlord shouted angrily, took a step on his strong legs, and rushed towards the ancient giant ape at an amazing speed. By killing the ancient great ape, he will gain new alien heroes and reset the cooldown, which will only be charged for the next summon. In other words, Zhang Chen can directly turn into a new alien hero without waiting for the watch to cool down. Moo! Just when the four-handed overlord was about to rush in front of the ancient giant ape, the mammoth giant elephant next to him roared, driving its huge body and crashing straight into the four-handed overlord. Picking up a keel casually, the four-handed overlord exerted his power and smashed it fiercely on the head of the mammoth, and suddenly exploded into bone fragments in the sky. Then hold the nose of the mammoth giant, tie his foot, stick it on the ground like a nail, use itself as the axis, shake the body of the mammoth giant elephant abruptly, and roll up the violent wind. "Cousin is so powerful," Xiao Wei exclaimed. Such a big mammoth, like a toy, was played by Zhang Chen between the palms. "Cool, this alien is so powerful, and he has 4 arms, just call him the four-handed overlord," Xiao Ban said firmly. Tian Ma's eyes showed approval, and he said with a smile, "I just said that your cousin will be fine, those animals will not be his opponent after another 100 years of training." Quote. Boom. The four-handed overlord let go of the elephant's trunk, instantly threw the mammoth giant elephant out, smashed it heavily on the iron gate, squeezed it into deformation, and then rolled down on the cold ground, making it difficult to stand up for a while. Roar! The ancient giant ape roared angrily, swung its huge fist, and slammed into the four-handed overlord. "Come on!" The four-handed overlord grabbed the opponent's fist with both hands, and then swung the other 2 fists, unleashing a stormy attack, slashing his head and covering his face and hitting the ancient giant ape's body. The abdomen, chest and other important parts of the torso were greatly damaged, and the ancient great ape only felt severe pain all over his body, as if the bones of his whole body were about to be shattered. This amazing force is really terrifying. In just a few breaths, the ancient giant ape was almost unable to bear it. The corners of its mouth spilled blood. Feeling that its life was in danger, it opened its sharp beast teeth and bit straight into the neck of the four-handed overlord. But before he could bite, his pupils suddenly shrank, and a strong sharp pain came from his abdomen. It looked down in disbelief, and saw the hard knees of the four-handed overlord that were fiercely bombarding his abdomen, and the furious power made its body turn upside down, and its chi and blood surge. Ha! The four-handed overlord raised his arm, struck out horizontally, and slammed his elbow on the back of the ancient giant ape, erupting into a thunderous bang. Call! An astonishing aura burst out, and the bones of the ancient giant ape were instantly dispersed, opening its fangs and spewing out a large mouthful of blood, staining the floor under its feet. It stared at its copper bell-like eyes, full of disbelief, and then gradually dispersed, its body weakened, and soon lost its breath of life. The four-handed overlord snorted coldly, and casually threw the corpse of the ancient giant ape on the ground, without any waves in his heart. This ancient giant ape has long been dead, died in ancient times millions of years ago, but it was just a puppet that was forcibly resurrected because of the gene activation ray. It's not really it, it's just a walking dead-like existence, and all the four-handed overlord does is quiet the ancient great ape and return to the place that belongs to it. Ding! Congratulations to the host for killing the ancient giant ape. Get a random hero gene treasure chest. Stored in space, can be opened at any time. A series of mechanical prompts sounded from the mind of the four-handed overlord. DDDD. Suddenly, the Omnidirex on the arm of the four-handed overlord flashed a blinding red light, and then burst out violently, changing back to its original appearance. Zhang Chen raised his wrist and looked at the Omnidirex super energy meter that fell into the red screen, and his gaze became firm. Open. Wow. When the words fell, the treasure chest in his mind suddenly burst into brilliant light. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining a new hero. Swamp Fire. Has the ability to breathe fire, regenerate, transform and fly, can also release biogas, ignite to produce powerful explosions, and can manipulate plants. Swamp Fire. Zhang Chen was stunned. Isn't this a powerful hero from Ben 10, Alien Heroes, summoned in advance? Didi. The next moment, the Omnidirex super energy meter changed, and the originally red screen turned into a deep blue. Ding! Omnidirex is calibrating. Zhang Chen suddenly realized that this is the watch to evolve, just like in the original work. Just when Zhang Chen was excited, there was a huge movement not far away. I saw the Spinosaurus and the mammoth giant elephant, with blood-red eyes, murderous, and huge bodies covering the sky, attacking Zhang Chen's side. Click. With each step, the ground trembled, and the walls produced spiderweb-like cracks, spilling a lot of smoke. At this point, the Omnidirex is still calibrated, glowing blue. Quick. Zhang Chen gritted his teeth and retreated as he retreated. This scene happened to be bumped into by 3 people outside the door. It's not good. Zhang Chen is in danger, let's go in and help him. Mark Tian was the first to react. Xiao Ban nodded, his eyes were very firm, he couldn't let his cousin have an accident. Immediately, he took a nimble step and rushed straight towards the 2 ancient behemoths on the opposite side. Hey stupid guy, I'm here, don't hurry up and learn how powerful your class brother is. At the same time, Xiao Wei and Grandpa also rushed over to provoke the murderous Spinosaurus and mammoth giant elephant. Roar, moo. In an instant, the attention of the 2 ancient behemoths was diverted, and I saw them move their thick limbs and quickly rush towards the 3 with fierce momentum. That monstrous murderous aura was almost condensed into substance, vowing to crush these provocative humans. Let's go. Grandpa took Xiao Ban and Xiao Wei and quickly ran out of the prehistoric museum. The Spinosaurus and the mammoth giant elephant had fallen into a state of rage, smashed the ground, and chased out with great momentum, leaving a mess all over the ground. Zhang Chen looked at the giant beast that was growing away, his brows furrowed, he glanced at the watch in the calibration, gritted his teeth and chased after it. Those 2 ancient giant beasts are extremely terrifying, and they are by no means what they can deal with, even ordinary guns are difficult to hurt them, let alone unarmed mortals. DDDD. Just after running out of the museum, the Omnidirex sounded again. Zhang Chen stopped and looked down. I saw that the blue light on the watch screen was gradually disappearing, replaced by an increasingly piercing green light. The strong light pierced his eyes, and Zhang Chen couldn't help but close his eyes and feel the burning from his wrist. Soon, the cyan glow gradually disappeared, revealing a new appearance of the Omnidirex. Zhang Chen raised his arm and looked extremely excited. This is the original calibrated version of Omnidirex. The shape is simple and light, especially cool, and it is smaller than the ordinary original generation, but the Omnidirex pattern in the middle remains unchanged, which is a unique symbol of the supermeter. In order to adapt to the genes of Swamp Fire, the system evolved Omnidirk X in advance, allowing Zhang Chen to summon new alien heroes. Now that the Omnidirex had been calibrated, Zhang Chen no longer hesitated, pressed the watch button, and popped up the central screen. Each time you get a new hero, you don't need to cool down your watch, you can summon it directly, and you only need to cool it down again for the next summon. It was only this time that the situation was special and the Omnidirex entered calibration mode, which delayed some time. After the evolution of Omnidirex, the selection hero book is no longer 2D, but a 3D projection of the alien hero, which is presented on the watch in 3 dimensions, which is more realistic and vivid. 4-handed overlord, big steel tooth, little shocker. Zhang Chen skipped them one by one, and finally stopped on a slender alien. That's it. Zhang Chen raised his palm and slammed it down, bursting out with green light. Chapter 11. He was slender, much taller than ordinary people, covered in grass green, with a flame-shaped crown and a little red thorn embedded in his shoulders. On the strong arms, there are many sharp barbs, which are very powerful. The unique Omnidirex logo, placed on the chest, is the effect of the calibrated version of Omnidirex, and the logo will be placed on the chest no matter which hero is summoned. This also causes the strength of some alien heroes to be affected, and they will be blocked by the Omnidirex in the chest. Of course, this is a later story. Swamp Fire. Zhang Chen looked at his own changes and was very satisfied in his heart. With the palm facing down, the Swamp Fire released a strong flame, which immediately produced an extremely strong propulsion, like a whistling cannonball, flew out at an amazing speed, and chased straight after the 2 ancient behemoths. At this time, the ancient Spinosaurus and the mammoth roamed the city center, and there was no grass wherever they went. There were screams and screams everywhere, vehicles colliding with each other, cursing, and the cries of children, crumpled up for a while, and the air was filled with tension and fear. Dozens of police cars immediately dispatched a large number of men and horses, and used large-caliber firearms to strafe 2 crazy behemoths. But their weapons did not even break the skin of the mammoth giant elephant, leaving only shallow white marks, which had little effect. Tian Ma had gray hair, clenched his teeth, tightly protected the two behind him, and his heart was in a mess. After running out of the museum, they wanted to lure the ancient giant beast to a remote suburb, but the Spinosaurus and the mammoth did not know what to go crazy and rushed directly to the most prosperous area, killing and acting recklessly. Grandpa, what should we do? Xiao Wei looked worried, looking at the terrifying behemoth not far away. Grandpa shook his head slightly and sighed. Until now, he can't do anything. Without the blessing of special weapons, he can't deal with these strange creatures. Don't worry, with my cousin here, he will definitely come to Habian these monsters. Xiao Ban said firmly. As soon as the words fell, there was a raging whistling sound overhead. The three of them looked surprised and looked up at the sky in unison. Immediately, a smile bloomed, and the heart that was originally hanging was also relaxed. I saw an alien covered in grass, his palm constantly bursting with flames, forming a beautiful landscape in the air, like a god, directly attacking the two ancient giant beasts in the city center. Bang! With a dull loud noise, the swamp fire fell to the ground, smashing deep pits, flying sand and rocks, and filling the smoke. Roar! The Spinosaurus was the first to notice the swamp fire, only to see it roar, step through countless ruins, and rush over with a monstrous murderous aura. The swamp fire dodged sideways, clenched his sandbag-sized fist, and slammed into the head of the Spinosaurus, but only shook it slightly. Unlike the four-handed overlord, he has unmatched strength. But strength is not a strong point of swamp fire. Roar! The Spinosaurus opened its blood-red vertical pupils, opened its mouth full of fangs, and bit the arm of the swamp fire like lightning. Sting! The next moment, the thin arm of the swamp fire was torn off, and the Spinosaurus threw it hard and threw it on the ruins not far away, splashing a lot of debris. Roar! The Spinosaurus roared into the swamp fire, as if declaring its majesty. This scene happened to be seen by the crowd of onlookers. Oh my god, that weird alien is going to die. Yes, the arm has been bitten off, and I am afraid that it will be eaten by dinosaurs later. It's over, even aliens can't defeat these monsters, our city is going to be destroyed. Who will save us? Looking at the alien visitors with broken arms, many people felt desperate and uneasy, and they had even seen the picture of the destruction of the city. Table, aliens, I'm sure you'll be able to defeat them. Xiao Ban shouted. The corners of Swamp Fire's mouth rose slightly, raised his left hand, and snapped his fingers crisply. The originally broken arm, with a few tentacles growing in the gap, spread rapidly, and then connected to the wound of the Swamp Fire. Under the shocked gazes of many people, the originally broken arm of the Swamp Fire healed at a speed visible to the naked eye, but in just a few seconds, it was as good as ever. Not even a single scar remained. This is Swamp Fire, not only has a powerful fire ability, but also can quickly heal wounds. This small injury is not worth mentioning to him. Aliens, you are so powerful, quickly beat these monsters to the sea. The alien brother is so handsome, his hands are broken and can grow back. A fair-skinned Western woman, her face flushed, looked at the Swamp Fire with adoration. Alien brother, you are our idol. The crowd was excited, cheering, and raising their arms to cheer for the Swamp Fire, and at this moment hope reignited in their hearts. My cousin is really powerful, and this new hero looks very strong. Xiao Wei couldn't help but sigh with emotion. That's not it, don't look at whose cousin. Xiao Ban stuck out his tongue. It's mine, Xiao Wei said angrily. That's mine too, the small class retorted. No, my cousin belongs only to me. Tian Mark stood aside, shook his head helplessly, and then looked at the center of the battlefield. Bang! Gently raising his palm, the Swamp Fire condensed a fiery flame, bursting out, rolling with the scalding temperature, the burning space was almost distorted, and bombarded the body of the Spinosaurus fiercely. The fiery red flame wave, like a roaring fire dragon, frantically devoured the skin of the Spinosaurus. Roar! The Spinosaurus let out a harsh roar, full of severe pain, and a strong desire for survival, making it instinctively storm back, trying to escape the range of flames. With a swipe of both hands, the Swamp Fire created a circular circle of fire, enveloping the huge body of the Spinosaurus inside, and releasing a large amount of methane, increasing the fire to burn the Spinosaurus. Moo! Suddenly, a huge roar came from the side. The Swamp Fire turned its head and looked, and saw that in the raging fire, a mammoth giant elephant flicked its long trunk, smashed the surface along the way, landslides and cracked, and the momentum crashed over. It's you stupid guy again. Swamp Fire sneered, aimed his right palm at the mammoth giant elephant, and released a rich biogas gas, then let you try this trick. The mammoth giant elephant fell into a rage. Its eyes were red, wrapped in endless biogas, and the unpleasant stench swept around, and the onlookers couldn't help but cover their mouths and noses, and their brows furrowed. But none of them left, and they didn't want to miss this rare monster battle. Seeing that the mammoth giant elephant was wrapped in a large amount of methane, the swamp fire ejected a trace of flame, adhered to it, and then snapped its fingers. Thundered. One after another, the thunderous noise, the dazzling fire soared into the sky. The mammoth giant elephant was instantly submerged in a violent explosion, the ground continued to tremble, and the sand and rocks splashed, as if a shocking earthquake had occurred. The crowd was so frightened that they covered their ears and fought in two strands, their eyes full of fear and horror. What a powerful force is this? Is there really such a creature? After a long time, the blinding fire faded away, and the explosion gradually subsided. In the ruins, a terrifying giant pit was blown out of the ruins, and inside lay a huge mammoth corpse, fragmented, scorched black, exuding a strong smell of scorching. Rao is a mammoth giant elephant with thick skin and flesh, and it is completely unable to resist the fierce attack of swamp fire. Roar! With blood-red eyes, the Spinosaurus forcibly rushed out of the ring of fire and bit into the swamp fire. The mammoth giant elephant is a lesson in the past, so that it feels the threat of death. Rather than sitting and waiting to die, staying in the ring of fire and being burned alive, it is better to give it a go, and there is a glimmer of life. Looking at the imposing fire dragon, the swamp fire released a large amount of methane, covering the vines not far away. Sting. The next moment, those vines grew savagely like seedlings, and in an instant, they were dozens of feet high, and they immediately closed together and turned into a huge green palm. Before the Spinosaurus could react, it was wrapped in a large rice dumpling by the swarming vines, and it struggled hard, unable to move for half a minute. Ding! Trigger alien hacker mission. Kill the Spinosaurus that fell into madness. Random enhancement effect can be obtained. Return to the embrace of death. The swamp fire raised his palm and burst out a thick red flame, instantly drowning the figure of the Spinosaurus. In a severely injured state, the Spinosaurus could not break free from the vines at all, and soon it was burned to ashes by the flames, leaving only the pitch-black bones, which fell on the ruins, emitting a scorching residual temperature. Air, dead silence. The surrounding crowd was stunned, opened their mouths, and looked at the slender figure motionlessly. I don't know how long it took. Someone cheered, "Hero, it's the Spitfire hero who saved us." Hero, hero. The rest reacted, raising their arms and cheering loudly, their faces full of excitement. Ding! Successfully killed the berserk Spinosaurus. Increase watch transformation time, 2 minutes. Omnidirect's initial transformation time is 10 minutes, currently increased to 12 minutes. Note: Omnidirex has the function of protecting the master. Some specific reasons may cause the time to be prolonged or shortened. In the mind, a series of system boost tones sounded. Zhang Chen's gaze froze. This is a good strengthening effect. If it goes on like this, it's not without hope that you'll get unlimited hours. Just as the swamp fire was thinking, the crowd of onlookers next to him was like a raging tide, crowding him and surrounding him. Hero. Hello alien, man, can you give me a contact information? The blue-eyed woman with dyed white hair shouted. It should be given to me. I am a famous model in Washington, alien handsome guy. I will invite you to dinner tonight, and then let's get to the bottom of it. Said a tall blonde woman with a proud chest. No, you all go away. Don't tarnish our hero. He is our patron saint. Where is there time to take care of you? That is, you will only affect the speed of the alien big brother's breath of fire. Alien good brother, I will treat you to a drink tonight. Let's not get drunk and will not return. Many men rebuked the women who hooked up with the swamp fire, and they all wanted to befriend such powerful aliens and add whole cards to themselves. The three of them were squeezed into the crowd, unable to get close to the swamp fire at all, and could only watch him being surrounded by everyone, with helplessness on their faces. My cousin, Xiao Wei shouted, but no one paid attention to her. Mark Tian shook his head and smiled. This is the charm of your cousin, let's wait for him outside. Quote. Oh, annoying, Xiao Ban lowered his forehead. In the crowd, the swamp fire shook his head. These people were too crazy and enthusiastic, not only to take pictures, to sign, but also to harmonize the oil. Even if he exudes biogas and faintly smells, he can't stop these people. Pulling away a beautiful woman's salty pig hand, the swamp fire burst out with a powerful momentum, forcing everyone around to retreat, and then with both palms facing down, brilliant flames spewed out, producing a strong impetus. Like a rocket in the air, escape from the bags of those crazy masses and quickly fly into the distance. Seeing this, Grandpa immediately took Xiao Ban and Xiao Wei and drove the old broken car to chase after him. The scene of the truth prize being announced. A man in a suit holding a gorgeous golden trophy in his hand. Dr. Kelly, congratulations on becoming the recipient of this Truth Award. Saying that, he handed the trophy to a middle-aged man. Before Dr. Kelly could take over, a huge tremor suddenly came from the ground. At the same time, the glass gate was gradually shrouded in a layer of black shadows, extremely large, and there were two red lights flashing, which seemed to be the eyes of some kind of monster. The faces of everyone changed drastically, screaming and fleeing in all directions. Sting, a terrifying prehistoric Tyrannosaurus Rex, with blood-red eyes and murderous spirit, slammed the glass door and rushed straight towards Dr. Kelly. Ah! Dr. Kelly panicked and was about to run back, only to trip over his other foot. The truth trophy in his hand flew out with a brush, and Dr. Dong Wu's eyes were quick, and he immediately jumped off the Tyrannosaurus Rex, flew to the truth trophy, and then hugged it. With a bang, Dr. Dong Wu landed on his back and fell solidly. My Truth Award. He hugged the trophy in his arms tightly. You, who are you? Dr. Kelly was terrified and looked at the mad Dr. Dong Wu in horror. I'm the most talented genius doctor in the whole world, Dong Wu. Dong Wu raised the golden trophy in his hand and shouted loudly, and the Truth Award also belongs to me. No one deserves it more than I do. That's mine, said Dr. Kelly, trembling. Dr. Dong Wu's eyes were bloodshot, pointed at Dr. Kelly on the ground, and issued instructions to the Tyrannosaurus Rex, quick, eat this nonsense guy. Hearing this, Dr. Kelly turned pale with fright, and out of nowhere, he stood up abruptly and fled madly. But the Tyrannosaurus Rex was faster, and I saw it grab Kelly's clothes, throw it high, and then open its blood basin and try to swallow Dr. Kelly alive. Ah! Kelly let out a hoarse scream. Is he going to die like this? I finally got the Truth Award, but I didn't expect to be eaten by the Tyrannosaurus Rex like this. He was very unwilling. Call. The next moment, a green figure rushed over, bursting into flames in his palm, grabbed Dr. Kelly with lightning speed, and escaped from the giant mouth of the Tyrannosaurus Rex. Roar. Quote, the Tyrannosaurus Rex bit the air with one blow, and suddenly became furious, opened its blood-red eyes, and let out a deafening roar at the incoming people. No one can stop me from getting the Truth Award. Dr. Dong Wu gritted his teeth, clenched his fists, and said angrily, Shang, slaughter him for me. The Tyrannosaurus Rex roared up to the sky, spread its sturdy legs, slammed into the desk that was in the way, and then opened its sharp fangs and bit straight into the swamp fire opposite. Good to go. The swamp fire raised its palm and burst out a fiery fireball, carrying terrifying temperature and power, and struck the huge Tyrannosaurus Rex at great speed. Bang! A booming sound sounded, and the blazing fireball accurately slammed on the head of the Tyrannosaurus Rex, and immediately opened its fried skin and flesh, exuding the smell of roasted meat. But the Tyrannosaurus Rex was obviously stronger than the Spinosaurus and the mammoth, and I saw that it endured the sharp pain on its head, opened its abyss mouth, and rushed over with great momentum. What a tough guy. Swamp Fire grabbed Kelly next to him, swept over the bulky body of the Tyrannosaurus Rex, and ran towards the gate. In this sealed environment, the explosion caused by igniting biogas is extremely terrifying, and it is inevitable that it will hurt yourself and others. Quick, catch up with it, be sure to eat this vegetative person. Dr. Dong Wu shouted. The Tyrannosaurus Rex slowly turned around, destroyed a large number of tables and chairs with a swing of its tail, roared at the swamp fire at the door, and then kicked away its strong lower limbs and chased out. Outside the door, Swamp Fire lowered Dr. Kelly. It's dangerous here, get out of here, Swamp Fire said in a low voice. Dr. Kelly nodded suddenly, and immediately ran away, but he looked back again, a little worried about the kind alien. After all, it is a Tyrannosaurus Rex, even if it is an alien, it may not be able to fight, right? Thinking of this, Dr. Kelly took out his mobile phone and dialed the police. At this time, the Swamp Fire had returned to the house and fought fiercely with the Tyrannosaurus Rex. Roar! The Tyrannosaurus Rex was extremely fierce, and made a raptor swing its tail, slamming into the Swamp Fire, but it was a blow that shattered the tofu-like wall. With a volley, the swamp fire clenched its green fist and slammed down, slamming into the neck of the Tyrannosaurus Rex. The Tyrannosaurus Rex let out a harsh roar, and the intense pain caused it to fall into a state of rage, and began to be fearless of death, madly tearing at the agile swamp fire. At this time, Xiaoban and others arrived here. Looking at the crazy fighting one person and one dragon, Tian Ma's eyes swept around and found that Dr. Dongwu was alone, sitting on the ground holding the Truth Award, his bloodshot eyes full of madness. The Truth Prize belongs to me after all. Bang! Suddenly, the huge body of the Tyrannosaurus Rex was blasted out by the swamp fire, smashing fiercely on the wall behind Dongwu, and falling apart. Dongwu suddenly woke up, but found that there were 3 more people in front of him. Not good. Tian Ma's eyes were quick, and he immediately stretched out his arm, wanting to take away the gene transmission on Dongwu's head. Dongwu was shocked and hurriedly withdrew. He glanced back at the seriously injured Tyrannosaurus Rex, gritted his teeth secretly, and his brain raced. There must be some way to defeat this alien. He looked left and right, and then his gaze froze, and a trace of cunning flashed. I saw that in the corner of the hall, there was a beautiful fish tank with emerald green aquatic plants, and a red king crab, and I saw that it opened its sharp giant tongs, tore off some aquatic plants, and kept stuffing them into its mouth. That's you. Dong Wuyin smiled compassionately. Hugh succeeded. Grandpa sensed Dong Wu's conspiracy and immediately rushed over, wanting to snatch the gene transmission. With one more mutant animal, things get a lot trickier. Wait and see, no one can stop me. Saying that, Dongwu aimed the gene transmission on his head at the king crab in the fish tank. Call. The next moment, a scorching fireball, rolling with a scalding heat wave, violently bombarded towards Dongwu. Without having time to think about it, Dongwu hurriedly hid to the side, but was blown up backwards by the aftermath of the explosion. This attack of the swamp fire directly blew Dongwu to ashes, scattered his head, and almost fell. Ignoring the pain in his body, Dongwu gritted his teeth and stood up, immediately pressed the button on his helmet, and burst out a red laser. Gene variable speed laser, accurately hit the king crab in the fish tank. Click. I saw that this red king crab, like a balloon, expanded rapidly, its body soared, and in just a few breaths, it broke the fish tank, exploded into glass fragments in the sky, and fell to the ground. The hard crab shell is covered with sharp barbs, and the 8 long legs are like deadly spears, and every time it hits the ground, it will burst out of Mars, leaving deep pits. Mutant king crab. The body is extremely large, exuding a terrifying aura. Like a heavy armored vehicle, it appeared in front of everyone. To create such a miracle, I am the only one in the world, Dr. Dongwu. Dongwu laughed, then beckoned the mutant giant cancer and launched a crazy attack towards the swamp fire. At this time, a black mouse passed under Dongwu's feet. Without thinking about it, Dongwu directly mutated it into a giant beast, and then rode on the back of the mutant mouse, looking down at Tian Mark and the others who wanted to get closer. Ooh, Xiaoban froze in place. Like and dislike, looking at the ugly mutant giant rat, Xiaowei almost vomited. Run. Grandpa pulled the 2 and immediately ran in the opposite direction, facing the murderous mutant behemoth. They could not be opponents. Rumble. Raising his fan-like palm, the swamp fire shot out several fireballs, like a violent wind and rain, slashing its head and covering its face towards the mutant cancer. Ding ding. But the fireball bombarded the mutant cancer's carapace, only bursting out a few sporadic sparks, and then dissipated in the air, unable to hurt its roots. Swamp fire snorted coldly. I have to say that this Dongwu's talent is indeed very strong, and he has made great achievements in the study of genes, but it is a pity that his mind is not correct. Otherwise, it is not too much to say that it is a truth prize, or to win the Nobel Prize. Since ordinary fireballs can't hurt mutant cancers, they can only use blasting. However, the small class is still in the house and must lure the mutant cancer outside. Thinking of this, the swamp fire raised his hands above his head, condensed a huge fireball, and immediately smashed down, carrying a violent hot wind, and fiercely attacked towards the mutant giant cancer. The mutant giant cancer raised its blood-red giant pincers to resist the blow, leaving a scorched black on the surface of the carapace, and hot gas continued to emerge. When it came back to its senses, the swamp fire had already rushed outside the hall, and the mutant giant cancer's eyes were red, and a soaring murderous aura emerged, and it chased after it with a huge body. Fire-breathing man, you want to escape from my palm. When the words fell, Dongwu rode the mutant mouse and rushed out. On the pitch-black sky dome, a white moon hangs high, sprinkling wisps of light. Outside the hall, the mutant giant Cancer is fierce, frantically wielding huge crab tongs, smashing everything that stands in the way, and constantly chasing the swamp fire ahead. In the face of this sudden terrifying behemoth, passers-by panicked, screaming and fleeing in all directions, for fear of angering the mutant giant Cancer. Along the way, the mutant giant Cancer used its brutal force, wantonly swept away the obstacles that blocked the road, and with a light clamp, the street lamp next to it was broken in response. Riding the mutant mouse, Dr. Dongwu also chased after him, skimming over the armored car like giant crab, and rushed forward to try to block the footsteps of the swamp fire. Two huge behemoths, wreaking havoc in the city, are rampant. Swamp fire glanced back, then snorted coldly and deliberately slowed down. Using biogas blasting here is never a wise move, and the damage caused is far greater than that of mutant behemoths. Jumping and stepping on the telephone pole, the swamp fire jumped back and forth continuously, swinging the flames from time to time, and playing with the giant beast that was chasing behind him. Soon, the swamp fire came to a football field. It was late at night, and the football field was empty, except for brightly lit light bulbs, still working. Roar! The mutant behemoth bared its sharp front teeth, murderous, and glared viciously at the swamp fire in the center. A huge movement came, and the mutant giant Cancer came one after another, standing with the mutant behemoth. As long as Dongwu ordered, it would immediately rush forward and shred the enemy in front of him. Click! The Tyrannosaurus Rex was scarred, his scalp was scorched, and his sturdy lower limbs also arrived here. 3 mutant behemoths against swamp fire. Jumping down from the mutant giant rat, Dongwu laughed, pointed to the swamp fire not far away, and ordered the 3 mutant giant beasts to besiege him. All together, tear this nasty guy to shreds. I'm going to experiment on him. When the words fell, all the mutant behemoths roared and rushed towards the swamp fire. Then solve you all together. Swamp fire smiled coldly. Immediately, he stretched out his palms and quickly released a rich methane gas, which instantly enveloped the 3 mutant behemoths. What the hell is this? Dongwu said in shock. The characteristics of this creature in front of him were beyond his imagination, and it simply did not look like a species on Earth. Don't, alien. The more he thought about it, the more excited he became, and Dongwu secretly vowed that he must take down this alien and capture it back to the laboratory to study it well. But the next scene stunned him. At this time, the 3 ferocious behemoths were flooded by the thick swamp gas, but their speed did not decrease, and they still roared and rushed towards the swamp fire. The swamp fire was not chaotic, always indifferent, and casually emitted a scorching fireball. Then he turned around, turned his back to the 3 fierce behemoths behind him, raised his right hand, and snapped his fingers crisply. Thundered. One after another, the thunderous sound, centered on the 3 giant beasts, erupted into extremely terrifying explosions, and the sea of fire was fierce, covering half of the football field in an instant. Dongwu was so frightened that he screamed and fled outside the field, but was swept away by the aftermath of the explosion and fell to the ground in embarrassment. After a long time, the sound of the explosion gradually subsided, and the blinding fire dissipated into the air. I saw that in the center of the football field, the mutant giant rat and the Tyrannosaurus Rex were blown to pieces, dripping with blood, revealing a large area of white bones, lying on the ground, motionless, and completely losing their breath of life. Although the mutant giant Cancer did not die, the carapace on its body was also torn apart by the terrifying explosion, and it was damaged in a large area, revealing the soft crab meat inside, shining brightly. The swamp fire raised its hand and burst out a blazing flame, completely killing the mutant Cancer. Then, he looked at Dongwu not far away. Dee. At this time, the Omnidirex on the chest of the swamp fire flickered. Swamp fire immediately raised his hand, wanting to kill this Dongwu and leave him in endless trouble. But as soon as the arm was raised halfway, a strong red light burst out from the swamp fire, returning to its original appearance. It's really small broken watch. Zhang Chen sighed helplessly. But fortunately, the 3 mutant behemoths have all been killed. You wait for me. See who wins. After that, Dr. Dongwu stumbled to get up, and was about to run outside. He wanted to activate more mutant creatures. But the next moment, he only felt a tightness around his waist. Grandpa, I hugged him. Xiao Ban shouted and hugged Dr. Dongwu deadly. Nice little class. Tian Ma was in good shape, and he rushed forward with an arrow and directly grabbed the gene transmission on Dongwu's head. Nope. Dongwu's eyes widened, that was his lifeblood. Bang! With a crisp sound, the gene transmission slammed to the ground and exploded into black wreckage. Immediately afterwards, a circle of red light burst out from the center of the wreckage, sweeping in all directions at an astonishing speed. Previously mutated organisms, such as mutant hamsters, green snakes, etc., were shrouded in red light waves, all of which returned to their original state, and the genes in their bodies returned to normal. My genetic transmission. Dongwu cried bitterly. Xiaoban and Xiaowei looked at each other, and immediately shrugged their shoulders. Drip, drip, drip. Dozens of police cars arrived, flashing blinding red and blue light, and a large number of guards surrounded here, real guns and nuclear bombs, saber rattling. They are following the footsteps of mutant animals, and this unstable factor will pose a great threat to human society and must be eradicated. Don't move. The captain of the guard raised his pistol. Tian Mark raised his hands and motioned for Zhang Chen and the others to do the same. Soon, Dongwu was handcuffed and escorted to the police station, where he would be imprisoned. After making a simple note, Grandpa took Zhang Chen and they returned to the old broken car. Cousin, today you were really fierce, you defeated the three-headed monster in one fell swoop. The small class danced and constantly explained the performance of the swamp fire today. Yes, cousin is really good, Superman. There was admiration in Xiao Wei's eyes. Grandpa held the steering wheel in his hand and said with a smile, this time Zhang Chen is a big hero in Washington. If it were not for him, I am afraid that no one would be able to stop Dongwu's conspiracy. Zhang Chen chuckled twice and didn't say anything. With Omnidirex, he naturally had no problem dealing with Dongwu. Now insert a big news. The TV screen suddenly switched to the picture of Swamp Fire vs. Spinosaurus. A host explained, recently, mysterious monsters have appeared in Washington, D.C., they are murderous and bloodthirsty, do all kinds of evil, and hurt a large number of citizens. In this most dangerous moment, an unsung hero stepped forward, brave, with one hand of biogas and the other of flames, beating the vicious monsters and saving the city from fire and water. We would like to call it, City Lights. Let's pay tribute to this great hero. Then the screen turned and switched to a video interviewing witnesses. Hello, were you present when the unsung hero beat the monster? After speaking, the host handed the microphone to the other party. I saw it. One of the young men looked excited. At that time, our hero was so brave that he blew up the murderous mammoth with a snap of his fingers, it was simply a god. Another girl rushed to answer. Really, I saw it too, and he also killed a Spinosaurus. Quote, I really want to know this hero, the young woman showed a look of adoration. Turning off the TV, Xiaoban looked at Zhang Chen with a grin. Cousin, now you are famous, and there are many beautiful women who want to know you. That's not it, it doesn't depend on how powerful our cousin is. Xiao Wei pouted. Yes, Zhang Chen, you are also an adult now, are you interested in having a girlfriend? Grandpa gave a rare bad smile. Me, Zhang Chen shook his head, not yet. Quote, how can he have the energy to do this now, if according to the plot of the original work, there are countless dangers waiting for him, Zhang Chen must hurry up, obtain more alien genes, and then become more powerful. In order to survive in this world. All right, kids, Grandpa said with a smile. To celebrate this victory, we will go fishing tomorrow morning so that you can enjoy the scenery of the lake. Quote, Oyezin la, Xiaoben smiled happily. Zhang Chen held his chin and seemed to be thinking about something. Since he hasn't watched ben10 for a long time, he is a little blurry about the plot of the original work, and can only vaguely remember a few big bosses. However, he remembered that there seemed to be some monster in the lake. What exactly it was called, he forgot. In short, everything is better to be careful. Shish. Suddenly, a strong tingling pain came from his arm. Zhang Chen rolled up his sleeves and saw a touch of green, like a swimming snake, squirming on his forearm. He rubbed his eyes, but found that the green snake gradually disappeared and soon disappeared. As if it had never been. Is it an illusion? Zhang Chen muttered. The next morning, the old broken car stopped in the dark dense forest, and not far away, there was a vast water lake, and the breeze blew through, making a little ripple. In the dim sky, a few crows skimmed by, making hoarse calls. An orange-haired girl with blue eyes, standing on the edge of the lake, looked at the lake worriedly. Xiaoban, you better hurry up, God knows what is dark in the lake. Quote. Gollum. A bubble rose in the lake, and a small head popped out from underneath. And Le Xiaomin, what's under here? Come down and swim, it's fun. Little Ben laughed and brushed his hair. When my cousin wakes up, tell him to come down and play too. At this time, Zhongchen and Grandpa were resting in the old broken car and had not yet woken up. Xiaoban, come up quickly, or I will sue my grandfather. Xiao Wei crossed his waist with both hands and signaled Xiaoban to hurry ashore. It's impossible for me to listen. Halfway through the words, Xiaoban suddenly became uncontrollable. He looked terrified and looked nervously under the water. Xiaoban, what's wrong? Xiao Wei asked stunnedly. Xiaoban was about to say something, when the whole person suddenly fell into the lake, as if something was pulling him down. Small class, Xiao Wei shouted worriedly. Gollum. On the surface of the lake, an eerie black shadow gradually appeared, and billowing bubbles appeared. Ha! A lot of seaweed was wrapped around the head of the small class, and he opened his teeth and danced his claws, pretending to be very fierce, and threatened Xiao Wei. Xiao Wei's pupils shrank slightly, and she immediately looked at him speechlessly. Xiaoban, it's not fun at all. Quote. This stupid cousin made her worry in vain. Xiaoban laughed and covered his stomach, very proud, scaring his stupid cousin, much happier than smoking a violent sumo card. Crash! Suddenly, a powerful wave was set off on the surface of the lake, and the entire level suddenly rose, and the undercurrent surged. At the same time, a raging torrent sound came from behind. Xiaoban was stunned at first, and then turned his head, and his face turned pale. I saw that on the surface of the lake in front, a thick tentacle was coming towards this side, like an Optimus Prime connecting heaven and earth, extremely huge. Seeing this, Xiaoban immediately spread his hands and struggled to move his legs, wanting to swim to the shore. But the undercurrent in the water is very turbulent. No matter how hard the small class tries, he can't get close to the shore, and he is still retreating, rolling towards the tentacles. Xiao Wei. Xiaoban opened his mouth and shouted, choking on a mouthful of lake water. Xiao Wei didn't look back. It's not fun, Xiao class, I won't fall for you again. This time it's true, there are monsters in the lake. Xiaoban panicked and kicked his legs to let himself float on the water. Xiao Wei gave him a blank look and walked straight in the direction of the old broken car. No, I was wrong. Save me, Xiaoban shouted in despair. Sensing that something was wrong, Xiao Wei suddenly stopped. This stupid cousin is usually very stubborn, why did he suddenly admit it? She turned her head, her pupils shrinking suddenly. I saw a huge and terrifying water monster, standing majestically on the surface of the lake, covering the sky, with two huge tentacles wrapped around its mouth, sharp and yellow teeth, like a meat grinder, frantically devouring everything in the seawater. The size of this water monster is even larger than the Tyrannosaurus Rex, and it can be called a giant in the water. Xiao Wei, hurry up and call my cousin, only he can save me. Xiaoban gritted his teeth and insisted, but his body was uncontrolled, and he was swept towards the big monster by the undercurrent. Hold on. After that, Xiao Wei pulled out his legs and ran in the direction of the old broken car. The old broken car was about 50 meters away from the lake, and Xiao Wei climbed back to the old broken car. Cousin, wake up quickly, Xiaoban, he is in danger. Xiao Wei put her arm around Zhongchen's shoulders and kept shaking. Originally, Zhongchen was still a little confused, but when he heard this, his eyes suddenly widened, and he was completely sleepy. Where is he? Zhongchen's gaze froze. In the lake, there's a big monster there. Xiao Wei looked very nervous. If he doesn't go back to save Xiaoban, he will be eaten by the terrible water monster. Hearing the words, water monster, Zhongchen's brows frowned slightly. It seems that there are really water monsters in this lake. If he is awake, he will never let Xiaoban go down to the lake. The original water monster is very huge and has good strength. But unexpectedly, Xiaoban took advantage of his grandfather to fall asleep and sneak out to swim. It is really a newborn calf is not afraid of tigers, not to mention that there are water monsters, and ordinary people do not dare to go to such a deep lake. It's just that it's useless to say anything now. Zhongchen directly pressed his watch and bounced up the stereoscopic image of the alien hero. Four-handed overlord, Diamond Kong, Little Shocker, Super Beast. Flash Star. That's you. In terms of the speed of saving people, it is none other than the Flash Star, although the combat effectiveness is average, but the practicality is very high. Bang! A burst of green light flashed. Zhongchen transformed into a Flash Star, put on an X-shaped mask, and flew out, like a bow and arrow off the string. With a distance of just over 50 meters, for the flash star, it is just a blink of an eye. In the lake, a huge whirlpool appeared, and a large amount of seawater was swept into it, mixed with some aquatic plants and driftwood, which were instantly twisted into pieces by powerful forces. A thin figure struggled near the whirlpool, to no avail, still approaching the terrifying vortex. Not only that, but the big monster also noticed the small class. It opened its abyss-like huge mouth. Its mouth was full of fishy breath, its fangs were like steel thorns, flashing with a gloomy cold light, and swallowed the jujube towards Xiaoban. It's over. Xiaoban's face was pale, and despair appeared in his eyes. I think he is a good student, does not quarrel or make trouble, usually gets along with his classmates, has nothing to do good deeds, and did not expect to die under the minions of the big monster today. The huge black shadow, covering a large area of water, and the figure of the small class, completely covered the warm sun, replaced only by chills and helplessness. Roar! The big water monster opened its eyes like a copper bell, was extremely violent, and exuded a terrifying aura all over its body, and wanted to swallow Xiaoban in one gulp. Su! At the moment of the attack, a blue afterimage struck at an extremely fast speed, rolled up the waves, grabbed the small class like lightning, and rushed to the shore at an amazing speed. Roar! As soon as the blow fell, the big water monster was extremely angry, frantically waving its huge tentacles, smashing on the surface of the lake, shaking one frenzy after another. A large amount of clear lake water fell from above, as if it was raining heavily, dripping little by little. At this time, Flash Star rushed ashore with a small class, and then put it down. Table, cousin, you are finally here. Xiaoban's hair was wet, and he hugged Flash Star excitedly. It's good to have you, otherwise I will be eaten by the big monster. Flash Star flicked Xiaoban's forehead and said hoarsely, you smelly boy, you don't sleep in the morning and come swimming to swim, aren't you afraid of death? If Xiao Wei hadn't come to inform me, you would have become a big monster's breakfast today. Cousin, I was wrong. The small class kept his head down, like a child who had done something wrong. Small class. At this time, Grandpa's voice came from the rear. He looked anxious and hurried over. Xiaoban, Zhongchen, I heard Xiao Wei say that there are big monsters in the lake, are you all right? Tian Ma had gray hair and looked at the two nervously. Grandpa, the big monster in the lake is terrible, he almost. Xiaoban had palpitations. But halfway through the words, he was interrupted by the Flash Star. Enough. Flash Star turned around. You guys get out of here, the big monster is coming. On the shore of the lake, the big water monster opened its blood-red eyes, like a wounded beast, furious and terrifying, moving its thick limbs and striking straight to the shore. Its eyes are full of murderous aura, gritting its teeth, and it seems to hate humans very much. That sharp claw, every time it stepped on the ground, it could cut terrifying claw marks. Flash Star turned his head. Grandpa, you quickly leave with Xiaoban Xiaowei, drive the old broken car to escape, the farther away from here, the better. Tian Mark nodded. He knew that he would not be able to help if he stayed, and would only drag Zhongchen's hind legs. Okay, then you have to be careful, that big monster looks difficult to deal with. After that, Grandpa dragged Xiaoban and Xiao Wei into the car and drove the old broken car at a gallop. Watching the old broken car getting farther and farther away, the Flash Star pulled off the mask, the soul pulley ran rapidly, and it jumped out and turned into a blue afterimage. On land, the monster is slow, but instead of retreating into the lake, it is still going berserk. Zhongchen clearly remembered that not far from here, there was a peaceful small village, and if he let the big water monster run there, the consequences would be unimaginable. Ding! Trigger the alien hacker mission. The angry monster is about to arrive in the village, wantonly destroy, slaughter humans in blood, and countless people will die at that time. Stop the monster before this and shoot back into the lake. Random rewards can be obtained for completing the mission. Between the electric flints, Zhongchen rushed to the big water monster and looked up at the behemoth in front of him. With a mouth full of sharp yellow teeth, the body is as strong as an ox, but it is even bigger, and the two terrifying tentacles are like life-threatening soul chains, which can cut through a large tree in the blink of an eye. This terrible sense of oppression can only be experienced by being there. Roar! The big water monster poked out a tentacle and slammed it into the Flash Star. Too slow. The Flash Star turned into an afterimage and easily dodged this brutal blow. In his eyes, the other party's attack was completely slow motion, like a movie that slowed down countless times, and even his hair could not be touched. Bang! The powerful tentacles smashed down, causing the surrounding ground to tremble violently, the earth splashed, and the entire dark dense forest shivered, spilling a large number of branches and leaves. Zhang Chen snorted coldly, turned into an afterimage that was difficult to capture with the naked eye, followed the lower limbs of the big water monster, galloped all the way, and came straight to the top of the other party's head. Tap tap. The flash star made a series of kicks, quickly greeted the big monster's head, and the strong leg force caused the big monster to howl continuously. It staggered back in pain, and swung its strong tentacles and slammed into the flash star on its head. Two-pronged attempt to smash the flash star into a meatloaf. Like a whirlwind, the flash star dodged this domineering attack, jumped off the big monster. Roar! The big monster let out an earth-shattering roar. Go back! Flash star waved his paw. Take one step further, blame me for not being polite. Quote. In any case, he can't let the big water monster pass, not to mention the village behind him, in case Grandpa's old broken car breaks down, stops halfway, and is hit by the big water monster. Roar! The big water monster raised its thick claws, imposing and fierce, and slammed into the position of the flash star. The flash star flashed and appeared on the other side. Stubborn. Immediately, he jumped to the belly of the big water monster, quickly waved his claws, and hit it like a violent wind, making a huge noise. The big water monster let out a mournful roar, put its claws together, slammed down on the ground, forced back the flash star, and then twisted its huge body and crawled towards the deep blue lake. It knows that it can't help the flash star, and if it stays any longer, it will only be beaten in vain, and its target is humans. On the pitch-black soil, a deep ravine was plowed, and the top was covered with wet lake water, which was muddy. Looking at the back of the big water monster leaving, Flash Star shook his head slightly. This big water monster is so violent, there must be a reason. It's just that for now, he has to go back to join the small class first in case something happens. Ding! Successfully prevented the big water monster from destroying the village. Enhance the speed of the Flash Star by 5%. Boom! A burst of white light flashed, and the Flash Star only felt much lighter, and the dynamic vision was sharper, a little stronger than before. However, Zhang Chen wants to obtain the genetic guide of other aliens and unlock more powerful heroes, such as supergiants, divine tyrannosaurs, ice ghosts, and so on. But for now, it's better to find the small class first, and then talk about it. This kind of thing can't be urgent. Thinking of this, the Flash Star slipped under his feet and turned around and attacked in the direction of the old broken car. Phew! The furious wind roared in the ears, the scenery on both sides was receding at an extremely fast speed, and the speed of the Flash Star was very fast, and it didn't take long to find the small class. Grandpa parked the old broken car at the entrance of the village, standing with Xiaowei, and the three were looking in this direction worriedly. Grandpa, cousin, he'll be fine, right? Xiaowei's expression was a little pale, but she saw the appearance of the big water monster, and it was not an exaggeration to say that it was a legendary monster. Grandpa shook his head. His gaze was very firm. Don't worry, your cousin is so powerful, he will definitely be able to return safely. Having said that, he couldn't let go of his heart, and he wanted to know Zhang Chen's situation. Anla, Xiaoban patted Xiaowei's shoulder. That's a Flash Star, coming and going without a trace, and it's not a hand to deal with the bulky monster. But, Xiaowei stopped talking. But what? A familiar voice came from behind. Xiaowei was stunned for a moment, and immediately showed joy on his face, and hurriedly turned around. Cousin. She was ecstatic, opened her hands and threw herself at Zhang Chen and hugged him tightly. Zhang Chen is now an adult, with a height of 1 meter and 7 or 8, and Xiaowei can only barely reach his chest. Cousin, it's really good that you're okay. Xiaowei rubbed her eyes. Zhang Chen smiled lightly. How can I have something? Don't worry, my cousin has more than this ability. Xiao. Ban and Grandpa next to him looked at each other and smiled heartily. At this moment, Zhang Chen felt a strong affection, and a warmth could not help but rise in his heart. Okay Xiaowei, let go of your cousin. Grandpa smiled bitterly and said, now we are going to the village to inform the local guards that there is news of the water monster. That's right, in case someone gets eaten by a big monster. Xiaoban said firmly, thinking back to the abyss giant mouth of the big water monster, he still had palpitations. But will anyone believe it? Zhang Chen said slowly. You have to give it a try. Grandpa sighed helplessly. If it was him, someone suddenly came to tell him that there was a man-eating monster in the lake, and I am afraid that he would not believe it. After some rectification, everyone came to the local defense bureau to explain the matter of the big water monster and let them take precautions. But the end was as Zhang Chen expected. They were first ridiculed, and then slammed out the door and lived on the street. Call. A cool breeze hit, and Xiao Ban couldn't help but hug his shoulders and snorted. Oh my god, those people are so hateful, why don't they believe us? He said angrily. Forget it, we can only help here. Zhang Chen shook his head slightly. Grandpa, let's go and leave this small village. Quote. They can go to the local guard bureau to inform that they have already done their best, and the other party refuses to listen, and they talk viciously to each other, and Zhang Chen has no way. Taking a hot face to stick to someone else's cold ass is not Zhang Chen's style. Grandpa frowned, as if thinking about something. It may be because of an occupational disease, and he feels that the problem of the big monster should be solved, otherwise the future will be endless. I know. Zhang Chen shook his head helplessly. He knew that if he didn't completely solve the matter of the big water monster, Grandpa would not leave easily. At this time, Tian Mark looked left and right and found a small fishing boat with a figure faintly standing on it. His eyes lit up. Let's go fishing, and ask the local fishermen about the monster. By the way, maybe there are any clues. Quote. Ding. Trigger the alien hacker mission. Find out the reason why the big water monster fell into a rage, and solve the source to return it to a calm state. Successfully complete the mission to get the Water Demon Magic Book 1. Water Demon Magic Book. Zhang Chen's gaze froze. I haven't heard this in the original work, but listening to the name, it should be something magical. For this kind of thing, Zhang Chen is not cold, he has Omnidirex is enough. However, he doesn't use it himself, he can use it for others. The corners of Zhang Chen's mouth rose slightly, and he looked at Xiao Wei, who looked confused. On the shore of the lake, a simple fishing boat is tied to a stake, and a middle-aged man stands on the boat, cat at the waist, not knowing what he is busy living. Is it Mr. Xiao? Mark Tian walked to the shore and looked at the man on the fishing boat. What's going on? The middle-aged man turned his head. The look is grim, the eyes are like dead fish, it looks difficult to get along with, and there is a feeling that no one should enter. We made an appointment to come fishing, and today the weather is so nice, I want to bring my grandchildren over to enjoy the beautiful scenery of the village. Mark Tian smiled, but he had other plans in his heart. Come up, Captain Xiao said nonchalantly, as if someone owed him money. Soon, Zhang Chen and the others boarded the fishing boat and headed for the lake. The wind is fair, the sun is shining, and the blue sky is reflected on the lake, as if heaven and earth are connected, quiet and harmonious. Fishing boats are lined with lush verdant woods, full of life and vitality, birds chirping, butterflies in pairs, frolicking in the singing of birds and flowers. Everything, it looks so normal. Xiao Ban stood on the edge of the deck, nervously looking left and right. Grandpa, or let's go back, God knows if that monster will come. Quote. Earlier, he escaped from the mouth of the big water monster, and he was still a little afraid. If Zhang Chen hadn't arrived in time, he would have died there. Dumb, didn't Grandpa say that? Xiao Wei hugged his shoulders and glanced at Xiao Ban. If you don't solve the problem of the big water monster, Grandpa won't leave. Do you think everyone is as timid as you? Who do you say is timid? It's you. The two gritted their teeth and glared at each other viciously, their eyes almost emitting electric light, and they collided fiercely. Captain Xiao held the steering wheel in his hand and glanced at Xiao Ban. Tian Mark laughed twice. Hee hee, my two grandsons love to be naughty, Mr. Xiao don't go to the heart. It's called Kraken. Captain Xiao's face remained unchanged, and he said lightly, someone has seen it hundreds of years ago, but no one has believed it, I have been tracking it for many years. Tian Mark raised his eyebrows, it seemed that this captain knew that the water monster existed. Since this is the case, there is no need to hide it. Mr. Xiao, you know the existence of big water monsters, why do you dare to take us out fishing? Mark Tian asked. Captain Xiao snorted coldly, and his dead fish-like eyes burst out with a chill, why don't you dare? I'm the most powerful monster ever. Only I can catch Kraken. Zhang Chen pulled his grandfather aside and shook his head. This Captain Xiao looked like an old stubborn and wanted to catch the water monster crazy. Catch a water monster single-handedly. I'm afraid it's not enough to stuff the big water monster's teeth. However, Zhang Chen did not refute it, but quietly observed the situation of the lake. He will not easily attack the big water monster now, but to figure out why it is crazy and solve the problem, and then obtain the mysterious water demon magic book. I don't know how long it took. Zhang Chen's body was shocked, and he almost fell to the ground. The entire fishing boat came to an abrupt stop. Captain Xiao pressed the sharp brakes, looked angry, and cursed viciously, "Passage is prohibited ahead. This is my territory, who is so daring?" Zhang Chen walked to the bow of the boat, found that the water in front of him had pulled up a blockade, and ordered a ban on passage, and the yellow cordon was extremely dazzling. Seeing that the water area was blocked, Tian Ma looked solemn and proposed, "Mr. Xiao, since the water area has been blocked, let's come back another day." Xiao Ban came to the blockade line, carefully observed the text on it, and said word by word, "Fish Friend Association Association." Captain Xiao cursed angrily, "I don't care, this is my territory, let's move on." When the words fell, he pressed the accelerator and forcibly broke through the blockade. Buzzing. The next moment, a huge oil tanker rolled up with a roar, tore through the lake water along the way, and stopped directly next to the small fishing boat. A large number of armed men were stationed on it, and some transport machines were constantly carrying wooden boxes, and it seemed that there was something valuable hidden inside. A bearded man in a blue uniform leaned on the edge of the deck, looked down at the people on the fishing boat, and said with a smile, "I am Yonamel, the founder of the Aquarists Association, and the waters in front of me have been blocked by us, and we are going to carry out a week-long environmental protection campaign, please stop." "Yonamel," Captain Xiao snorted coldly, "what right do you have to block the waters? This is my territory, I advise you to be honest." Yonamel sneered, then clapped his palms, and soon the two armed men behind him stepped forward. Zhang Chen's gaze froze. These people's weapons are not simple, they are definitely prepared. "Sir, I think you need to reconsider, don't toast or eat and punish wine." Yonamel smiled, but there was a hint of cruelty in the corners of his eyes. "Let's go." Tian Mark covered Captain Xiao, who was about to scold, and immediately said, "I requisitioned this ship today, you must listen to me in everything, I now order you to return the same way, we don't want to fish today." Mr. Xiao's anger soared, and finally he snorted coldly and drove the fishing boat back. Seeing the small fishing boat return, the corners of Yonamel's mouth on the deck rose, and he said contemptuously, "The fisherman, you dare to argue with me, what a rare strange coffee." At this time, Zhang Chen was sitting on the side of the ship, watching the oil tanker getting farther and farther away, thinking about whether to make a move. According to the situation, there is definitely something wrong with the materials on that ship, it should be something related to the big monster. Zhang Chen has not watched ben10 for a long time, his memory is very vague, plus the memory of the original owner of this body overlaps, and he forgets a lot of things. "Grandpa, are we going like this?" Xiao Minshou's eyebrows frowned slightly, and she turned her head to look at the big oil tanker behind. Tian Mark nodded, "Those people don't seem to be good, and they are well armed, we are just unarmed ordinary people, we can't fight them. The good man does not suffer the immediate loss, after we go back, we will plan for the long term." Xiao Ban's eyes turned, and then lit up, "We have a cousin. With him here, what Aquarists Association, all are scum. Captain." Xiao looked at Xiao Ban strangely, and then looked at Zhang Chen, showing a strange look. He admitted that this guy has a good physique, but he has no weapons, what to take to fight with stinky Aquarists. Seeing this, Mark Tian immediately covered Xiao Ban's mouth and said with a smile, "Children are not sensible, and their imagination is rich, Mr. Xiao is not surprised." Quote, "Over time, the oil tankers of the Aquarists Association have almost disappeared from view." Zhang Chen ran to the back of the fishing boat, hidden, made sure that there was no one around, and pressed his watch. "If you don't make a move at this time, I don't know when you will have to wait until Hebi and those arrogant people will eat." Bang! With a loud explosion, the level of the surrounding lakes rose extremely rapidly, and the small fishing boats rose and were forced up, some uncontrolled, and the head and tail were unbalanced. Zhang Chen hurriedly grabbed the deck before forcing his figure. Crash! A thick cyan tentacle burst out from the depths of the lake, bubbling with blisters, and its momentum was extremely fierce, striking the oil tanker of the Aquarists Association at an astonishing speed. "It's a big monster." On the bow, Captain Xiao clutched the steering wheel tightly, and his eyes showed excitement. After so many years of tracking, he finally found Kraken. The dark green tentacles raged in the lake like a wild dragon, rolling up the snow-white waves, and the momentum was huge, straight towards the side of the Aquarists Association. Little class, come back soon, stay away from the deck. Saying that, Tien Mark stretched out his hand and pulled back the stunned Xiaoban. Grandpa, what should we do? The small class was a little scared. Xiao Wei is the same, facing such a fierce and strange creature, they feel fear and helplessness from the bottom of their hearts. You guys go back first. Zhang Chen stepped forward, leave it to me here, that big monster's target is the Aquarists Association, and it shouldn't take action against you. Good. Grandpa nodded, his face very solemn. Now they are in the depths of the lake, but they are not joking, and the slightest mistake will kill them. I forgot to bring a weapon today. Captain Xiao jumped like thunder and said viciously, let's go back and get the weapon, and then come back to capture this big monster alive. Quote. Whoosh. When the words fell, Captain Xiao increased the horsepower of the fishing boat to the maximum, skimmed through the soaring snowflakes, and rushed to the small village at great speed. On the other side, Zhang Chen hid behind the fishing boat, raised the Omnidirex on his wrist, and then pressed the switch, and suddenly bounced the stereoscopic projection of the alien hero. Four-handed overlord, diamond god of war, super beast, shapeshifter. One by one, the green projections flashed, and Zhang Chen shook his head. Although these aliens are very strong, they are not suitable for water battles. Drip. A lean fishman suddenly appeared on the watch projection, and the corners of Zhang Chen's mouth rose slightly. That's it. Zhang Chen did not hesitate and slammed down. Behind the fishing boat, a cyan light suddenly burst out, and it immediately plopped, as if something had fallen off the boat. Because the fishing boat was galloping fast and the roar was endless, Captain Xiao did not notice anything unusual. At this time, he stared at the dead fish-like eyes, stared straight ahead, and couldn't wait to rush back immediately, take out the special weapon, and come back to capture the legendary giant water monster. Tien Mark glanced back at the stern of the boat, knowing that Zhang Chen had probably made a move. Xiaoban and Xiao Wei glanced at each other, and then shrugged. Whoops! The snow-white roaring wave rolled up high, like a terrifying monster, murderous, and slaughtered towards the big oil tanker with its teeth and claws. On the edge of the deck, a flash of essence flashed in Yonamel's eyes, and he sneered, hee hee, when the mother comes, then kill you all. When the words fell, he immediately called all the armed personnel, lined up in a line, and stood straight on the edge of the deck, facing the big monster in the wave. Everyone is armed with machine guns, well equipped, and faces monsters beyond the norm without the slightest fear. Roar! Tearing through the huge wave, the big water monster let out a heaven-shaking roar. Full of fangs, it suddenly poked out its tentacles and directly hit the large wooden box in transit. Give me all attacks! Yonamel shouted, catch this monster alive and you will definitely sell it for a good price. Between the words, all kinds of extravagant life had already appeared in his mind. The beaches of Hawaii Island, the sun, bikini beauties, cherry blossom viewing in the country of the sun, bathing in gold and jade every day, surrounded by beautiful women, mesmerizing. Tap da da. A series of dazzling fires burst out from the muzzle, and the furious bullets continued to pour, carrying amazing kinetic energy, converging into a terrifying steel storm, and shooting towards the big water monster. Countless whistling bullets, densely packed, smashed into the big water monster, causing it to constantly retreat and wail repeatedly. These bullets are specially treated, the power is comparable to a sniper rifle, and at this time, it is like a machine gun burst. Rao is a rough skin and thick kraken, but also a little unbearable. Roar! Forced to endure the sharp pain in his body, the big water monster protruded its tentacles with difficulty, like a flexible vine, and swept away towards the large wooden box. Quick, increase the firepower! Yonamel shouted, but he couldn't let the monster snatch these things. Tap tap! More than a dozen armed personnel immediately increased their firepower, ignoring the heat coming out of the barrel, pulled the trigger fiercely, and attacked the big monster. But it was too late. At this time, the body of the big water monster was scarred and covered with dense craters, although the wound was not deep, but it was also extremely painful. I saw that it braved the raging fire, swept the tentacles towards the large wooden box, and tried to sweep it away. But at this moment, the abnormality suddenly changed. The mecha responsible for transporting the large wooden box slammed out its iron fist, instantly repelling the injured tentacle. Roar! The large water monster let out a mournful cry and was once again covered in furious firepower. It covered its face with its hands, and was repeatedly retreated by the furious bullets, but it never left. It seems that the big wooden box has something it cares about. Ha 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 ha, it's really touching, big monster, I'll reunite you guys. Yonamel manipulated the tall mech, imposing and flickering with dazzling electric light in his claws, and rushed straight towards the big monster. The big water monster roared, and vigorously swung out two thick tentacles, sweeping away like a whip. Z-la-la. The high-voltage electricity on the hands of the heavy mech collided with the tentacles of the big monster, and amazing electric light burst out from it, and the furious energy filled the monster's body, causing it to roar fiercely. The big water monster, which was already injured, finally could not resist the terrifying electric light, his eyes were scattered, and he was gradually fainting. Hee, no matter how strong you are, you won't be able to fight me after all. Yonamel in the mecha laughed, in this world, there is no weird guy the first can't fight. Quote. Really? A gloomy voice sounded from behind. Yonamel was startled, immediately stopped releasing electricity, and manipulated the mech to turn behind him. Shaken off the damage of the high-voltage current, the big water monster was relieved, half opened its eyes, and sank weakly into the lake. What kind of monster are you? Yonamel exclaimed in horror and looked at the fishman in front of him in shock. He is covered in fish scales, his skin is light blue, he has a green headlamp hanging from his head, and his face is hideous, and his mouth is full of sharp fangs. Big steel teeth. Saying that, the big steel tooth swooped forward, grabbed the mecha's arm, and bit down fiercely. Click. The amazing bite force directly bites off the hard robotic arm, revealing a large number of circuits at the fracture, flashing short-circuited current, crackling. Ah, you monster. Yonamel was furious, his eyes bloodshot. To create this expensive mecha, I don't know how much effort and money it will cost him, just biting off an arm, at least more than $1 billion will be lost. The more he thought about it, the more angry he became. Yonamel controlled the mecha, switched his fist into a spiral claw, and spun it quickly, and the skin of the terrifying wind-pierced pain. Go and die, stinky fishman. The deadly spiral claw, curled with furious power, stabbed fiercely towards the big steel teeth. God, groggy, originally clear sky, but now it is covered with thunderclouds, cold winds howling, calm lake ripples, and the sky streaks through several thunderbolts from time to time, reflecting the vast lake surface purple. On the fishing boat, Big Steel Fang faced the tall mech alone. In his eyes, the rapidly rotating spiral knife enlarged extremely quickly, flashing a vicious cold light. If he was stabbed by this knife, he would not die and shed his skin. Lowering his head to dodge this blow, Big Steel Fang grabbed the mecha with both hands, kicked hard, and pushed the other party into the lake. Don't move. Other people's voices came from behind. The big steel tooth turned his head and found that it was Yonamel's men, all armed, all pointing guns at him. Just as he was thinking about how to respond, a strong tentacle suddenly burst out from the bottom of the lake, and without waiting for everyone to react, he directly rolled those people into the bottom of the lake. Gollum. Yonamel's men were completely destroyed, dragged into the bottom of the lake by the monster, fell into the endless abyss, and constantly bubbled a large number of bubbles. They struggled, but to no avail. Under the overwhelming power of the big water monster, most of these people will not survive. Big Steel Tooth stood on the edge of the deck and did not choose to come to the rescue. It can only be said that the Tao of Heaven has reincarnation, and not all weak and small are worthy of protection. Crash. A tall mech jerked out of the water and floated in the lake, and Yonamel inside looked left and right, and immediately fixed his gaze on the big steel teeth on the boat. You big stupid fish, you dare to spoil my good deeds. Yonamel was furious, and the robotic arm instantly ejected, grabbed the edge of the deck, and landed on the oil ship with himself. A group of poachers, who are qualified to challenge me. Big Steel Tooth was dismissive. Then you will die. After that, Yonamel raised the remaining mechanical arm, burst out a violent electric light, and struck straight towards the big steel tooth. Seeing this, the big steel tooth immediately retreated, grabbed an iron bar casually, and threw it at the mecha. Even the big water monster can't bear the high voltage electricity. He won't be stupid enough to resist hard. After all, the big steel tooth is not good at land warfare. Only in the water can he exert his maximum combat power. Sting. The sharp robotic arm, surrounded by a piercing purple electric light, instantly tore the iron rod into several pieces, crackling and falling on the ship's board. Just as Yonamel was about to take advantage of the victory to pursue, a thick tentacle suddenly hit the oil tanker, like a barrel-thick python, biting the large wooden box and dragging it straight into the lake. Nope. Let go of my eggs. Yonamel was blinded and gave up attacking the big steel tooth and rushed towards the big monster instead. Plopped down, the monster was fast, and without waiting for Yonamel to arrive, it dragged the large wooden box into the water. Give it back to me. Yonamel had fallen into madness, and regardless of other consequences, he drove the bulky mech into the water, tore through the oncoming lake, and chased in the direction of the large wooden box. Roar! At the bottom of the dark lake, the big monster easily tore the large wooden box and rolled 2 huge brown round eggs from it. Its copper bell-like eyes showed human joy, and it was indulged in its arms and carefully cared for. Not far away, the big steel tooth has a glowing lantern on its head, taking in this scene. It turns out that the wooden box contains monster eggs. Big steel tooth thought thoughtfully, no wonder the big water monster goes crazy and attacks humans, this is the child robbed by the Aquarists Association. Quote, "You know, there is no more terrible creature in the world than a female who has lost her child." Suddenly, a blinding light broke the tranquility of the moment. I saw a tall mecha, striking from above at great speed, with an underwater searchlight on its head, with a fierce momentum, and rushed towards the big monster at the bottom of the lake. His speed was fast, and a powerful power engine burst out from his back, and before the big monster could react, he threw a punch and bombarded the top of the monster's head. The big water monster was frightened and let out a terrifying roar, countless bubbles rolled up, and the 2 giant eggs suddenly fell out of their arms. The sharp-eyed Yonamel immediately struck, his figure swept over the bulky monster, grabbed 2 monster eggs in one hand, and quickly rose towards the lake. Roar! The big water monster let out a furious roar, and 2 python-like tentacles poked out, forming a wrapped shape, and swept towards Yonamel fiercely. Think beautiful, these eggs are mine. A fierce look appeared in Yonamel's eyes. Then he threw 2 monster eggs forcefully, causing them to float towards the lake, then turned around and lifted the strong mechanical arm. At this time, the tentacles of the big monster had broken through to the near front. Yonamel sneered, and the mechanical arm erupted with electric light, and he swung his claws violently, grasping at the thick tentacles like lightning. Nourishment. The bottom of the dark lake instantly flashed with dazzling electricity. Violent electricity filled the surroundings, the big water monster's eyes widened, its body convulsed, and the strong pain made it painful. It stands to reason that Yonamel will also be injured by this current, but the material of this mecha is very special, which can avoid accidental injury by electric current. The violent electric light flickered, and the big water monster wanted to break free, but the high-voltage electricity was terrifying, making its muscles completely stiff and unable to move at all. Its vitality is constantly decreasing. "Since I can't capture you alive, let's kill you directly," Yonamel said viciously. The corpse of a large monster can be sold for a good price, and those so-called collectors like these. Suddenly, a black shadow flashed behind Yonamel. Who? Yonamel was flabbergasted. "It's your uncle." The big steel tooth endured the paralysis all over his body, hugged the mecha, and then opened his sharp fangs, like a fierce beast in the sea, and bit the mecha's arm fiercely. Click! 2 rows of sharp steel teeth, harder than metal, directly bite off the robotic arm and stop the output of current. "It's you," Yonamel exclaimed, his eyes full of resentment. If he had the chance, he would definitely slash this fishman by 1,000 cuts. Only then can he solve the hatred in his heart. But unfortunately, he did not have this opportunity. Kraken, who got rid of the high-voltage electricity, suddenly opened his sharp fangs, shredded the mecha in one bite, and swallowed Yonamel into his stomach in an instant. Kraken opened his eyes wide, glanced at the big steel teeth, his gaze was a little soft, and then he whispered, and reached out his tentacles to retract the monster egg. Looking at the intact egg in his arms, the big water monster's eyes showed joy. "I should go too." The big steel teeth flicked the tail of the fish and swam towards the lake. On the ground, his fishtail turns into feet and is used to adapt to land, which can be said to belong to amphibians. Suddenly, a pitch-black snake shadow flashed. The big steel tooth was like a big enemy. Thinking that some monster was coming, he immediately turned around, and his eyes burst with murderous aura. But the next moment, he was stunned in place. I saw the big water monster stretching out its tentacles, gently stroking his cheek, and whispering a few times in his mouth, not knowing what he was saying. "Oh my God!" The big steel tooth waved his hand, his head shook like a rattle, and he fled back to the lake. When the big steel tooth swam back to the lake, he found that the oil tanker of the Aquarists Association had been seized, and it was full of guards, carrying out a series of photo procedures. Mark Tien was also among them, not knowing what to say to the guards. It seemed that he should be taking notes. It should be Grandpa who reported the Aquarists Association. Large steel-tooth porcelain airway. Regardless of the world, the sale of rare animals is a felony, and in severe cases it may be punishable by death. Not far away, Captain Shaw carried the small class. The big monster, I'm going to catch it. Captain Shaw kept yelling to catch Kraken. Xiaoban shrugged, Onla. Needless to say, the big monster must have been submitted by some hero. It must be, I believe what Xiaoban said. Xiao Wei said with a smile. Seeing this scene, Big Steel Tooth smiled lightly twice, then dived to the bottom of the lake and quietly swam towards the fishing boat. Back to the small village. After solving the big water monster, Grandpa's originally hanging heart was finally put down. He took Zhang Chen and the others to rent a small fishing boat from Captain Xiao, which was the type of oar, light and easy to operate, and then everyone went to the lake to enjoy the light and fish. This time, there was no Captain Shaw's stinky face, and there was no murderous monster. Simply a warm family trip. The sun is soft, shining on the blue lake, and a cool autumn breeze blows, refreshing the heart. A small fishing boat travels alone on the wide lake, surrounded by calm and tranquility. At this time, Xiaoban and Xiao Wei huddled in front of Zhang Chen, blinking their eyes and listening curiously to him tell about the big water monster. It turns out that the Aquarists Association is not a good person. I have long seen them unhappy. A look of resentment appeared in Xiaoban's eyes. Xiao Wei looked at Zhang Chen with adoration. My cousin is so powerful, not only saved the big water monster, but also helped it snatch back the child. It's really amazing. Quote. Girls, a little bit of adoration for brave boys. Small meaning, but that Yonamel's mech is quite strong, and even the big water monster is not an opponent. Zhang Chen smiled. That powerful high-voltage electricity can take the lives of a large number of fish in an instant. Rao is transformed into a big steel tooth, and Zhang Chen does not want to resist head-on. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully quelling the big water monster. Get the mission reward. Water Demon Magic Book 1. Water Demon Magic Book. Question mark. Zhang Chen's eyes lit up. It sounded like a magic book, full of mystery, and he wanted to see what it was. Picking up the backpack next to him casually, Zhang Chen pretended to reach for something, summoned the Water Demon Magic Book from inside, and immediately checked it. Judging from the cover, this is an ancient book, with a somewhat broken surface and a dark red color, depicting many intricate and mysterious spells. Zhang Chen shook his head slightly. These things could not be understood at all. He opened the cover of the book and found a brief introduction to spells and the use of water magic. Page 1. Water demon magic originated in ancient times and was created by a powerful water demon who can harness the water element, one of the 5 elements of nature. Users need to have super magical talent and understanding to practice this method, otherwise it is easy to go crazy. Remember, spells are chanted when casting spells to maximize the power of spells. This spell is divided into beginner, intermediate and high level. The more advanced the spell, the more difficult it is to cultivate. The user must not be anxious, need to follow the good seduction, perseverance, in order to cultivate the water demon magic to the extreme, become a water control master. The first half of the book was basically explaining the origin and taboos of the water demon magic, and after Zhang Chen turned a few pages, he quickly forwarded directly to the page of practicing the spell. Beginner spell. Introduction to the blue water arrow. Use the power of the water demon to condense into a water arrow, chant a curse in a low voice, form a circle in the mouth of the tiger with the left hand, and shoot the water arrow from the index finger of the right hand. Mantra. With the oath of water, in the name of Ru, by the power of the demon, shoot. Quote. Mist spirit. Using the water mist to psychedelize the enemy's sight, condensing water mist around the target, mostly used for escape, interference and surprise attack. Spells. Mist spirit, demon power, eye of shielding, body of Yugo. Quote. In addition to this, there are intermediate and high-level spells. For example, the blister technique, the water dragon soul, the 10,000 arrows in unison, etc., feel very powerful. According to the method in the magic book, Zhang Chen formed a circle with his left hand, and protruded his right index finger and aimed at the lake next to him. With the oath of water, in the name of Ru, with the power of demons, shoot. Zhang Chen straightened his fingers and used all his strength to try to shoot a water arrow. For a long time, there was silence. Zhang Chen shook his head helplessly. It seemed that he was not suitable for cultivating this kind of magic. Cousin, what are you doing? Xiao Wei poked his head over curiously. When she found the magic book in Zhang Chen's hand, her beautiful eyes suddenly lit up. Cousin, what is this thing, and why do I feel like it's calling me? Xiao Wei's eyes were full of surprise, and she opened her mouth wide. It seems that in the underworld, I have a relationship with it. Between the words, she swallowed her spit. Her eyes were very hot, and she seemed to want to get this magic book. Zhang Chen turned around and looked at Xiao Wei's longing eyes, and his heart suddenly became clear. In the original work, Xiao Wei only awakened her magical ability after swapping her body with the evil witch, but this also shows that she has the talent to cultivate spells, otherwise she would not be able to become a powerful magician. Here you go, see if you can cultivate. Zhang Chen handed the water demon magic book to the excited Xiao Wei. Holding the magic book with both hands, Xiao Wei's eyes were full of fire, almost bursting out of Mars, and she thanked her repeatedly. Thank you, cousin. I really don't know why, I just want to get it. It doesn't hurt. Zhang Chen waved his hand and made up a reason at random. This is what I got by subduing the big water monster. You can try to cultivate it. If you have talent in this area, I will give you this book. Quote. To be honest, this water demon magic book doesn't do much to him. Besides, he already has Omnidirex, and with this time to cultivate, it's better to think about how to strengthen the alien hero. At this time, the small class came over. Nerd, what are you holding in your hand? You don't even have to read a book for fishing, right? Xiao Ban deliberately mocked that he liked to work against Xiao Wei. Dumb, go aside. Xiao Wei gave him a blank look. You two don't fight anymore. Don't hurry over and fish, what an interesting thing. Grandpa shouted from not far away. At this time, Xiao Wei looked at the water demon magic book with a serious face. Water demon law book. Xiao Ban leaned forward, immediately covered his stomach, and laughed. I didn't expect that, you nerd. You actually believe that there is such a thing as magic. Are you stupid by the sun? But the next scene stunned everyone present. I saw Xiao Wei's face solemn, raised his slender right hand, and said softly, the spirit of fog, the power of the demon, the eye of the shading, the body of Yuwu. When the words fell, a thick mist of water filled the surroundings at a speed visible to the naked eye, and both the surface of the lake and the distant scene gradually blurred, and soon disappeared completely. Yes, it's just a snow-white mist with very low visibility. Zhang Chen's heart was beating wildly. This is mist magic. Quote. Mist spirit. Condenses water mist around the target with water mist psychedelic enemy sight, mostly used for escape, interference and surprise attacks. Unexpectedly, Xiao Wei was able to use this kind of beginner-level spell as soon as he got started, which can definitely be said to be a gift. Oh my god, how is this possible? Xiao Ban's face was full of horror, and he couldn't believe the scene in front of him. Tian Mark frowned slightly, silent, not knowing what he was thinking. Immediately afterwards, Xiao Wei used a blue water arrow and slammed it on the surface of the lake, instantly shooting a large area of violent water spray, erupting into a huge water crashing sound. As soon as I started cultivating, I was able to master 2 beginner-level water demon spells, which is really amazing. Zhang Chen nodded secretly. Xiao Wei, you try to see if you can use a middle-tier spell, just pick one at random. Zhang Chen said with a smile. Okay, cousin. After speaking, a trace of essence flashed in Xiao Wei's eyes, his hands were together, and he drank lightly. Gather the air into water, condense water into a dragon, turn the dragon into a soul, kill. Quote. Water dragon soul. This is a powerful killing move of a mid-tier spell. Please like my videos and subscribe for more videos.